Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto stumbles upon a Pokemon egg. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Vegeta the Third and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Naruto and Arashi. Prologue. The battlefield was heavily scarred. Trees were destroyed, earth was scorched and worn out of its green, and countless bloody bodies were scattered around as far as the eye can see. Whether it was half-eaten or crushed, the shinobi bodies across the scarred outskirts of Leaf Ninja village Konoha were all dead. Over 100 lives lost, as well as Konoha's pride. But the greatest loss would be that of the Yondaime Hokage, who risked his life to slay the Kyuubi no Yoko, the nine-tailed fox demon, who killed nearly all the shinobi on the battlefield and almost Konoha itself. As to why it did, no one knows. Nor did anyone know what it really was. A creature whose heart was tightly closed, letting its dark nature reach dangerous heights. The source of this effect is also unknown, but despite this, it wasn't the fox's fault in attacking the village. The only one aware of this was the leader of the village himself, the fourth Hokage, or Yondaime. Because of this he didn't kill it, but rather seal it into a newborn, in hopes to reopen its heart. While nobody knew why the Yondaime didn't kill it, a selected few did know it was sealed. Those few being the Sandaime, Sarutobi, the village council, and the survivors of the battle at the outskirts. The now reappointed Hokage believed that the fewer people who knew of the boy's fate, the better. However, word of the mouth always has a way of slipping out. Chapter 1. Eggs and Berries. Several years passed since the Kyuubi attacked and old grudges die hard. Not everyone who knew about the fox could sleep peacefully, knowing that it nearly killed them was still alive in some shape or form. It wasn't until 6 years after the Kyuubi attack that villagers decided to revolt and end the vessel's life. A young orphan who the Yondaime sealed the fox into. While the Hokage refused to tell anyone of the demon but the survivors, they told others in the village, friends, family, co-workers. This, of course, was kept hidden by the Hokage who they think was foolish enough to believe the child was innocent. To them, it was a tainted being lost to the fox. They thought to save themselves, and the boy was to kill it. It was fairly simple to ambush a child and beat him up. However, the action itself wasn't unfound by the third Hokage, who immediately sent Anbu to break up the fighting. While some of them were aware of the fox, the Hokage held better authority over them. The skirmish was broken up, and the Hokage believed it was best for the boy's sake to establish a new law, with approval from the council of course. No one, as of that night, was allowed to speak a word of the Kyuubi being sealed within Naruto. Those who do would face torture from the head interrogator and/or solitary confinement. Even death, if necessary. While no more beatings occurred, that didn't stop the people from avoiding him and talking ill of him behind his back. The boy didn't let this bother him, or at least let others know that it did. Through some trial and error, he learned it was best sometimes when people don't know of your true emotions. Said boy, now 11 years of age, was walking back to his apartment after a long day in the ninja academy. It was nothing out of the ordinary. He skipped morning roll call to pull a prank, which involved wrecking a food store. Water and milk was spilled, fruits and vegetables were thrown and squashed, and junk food graffiti was found all over the aisles. The only food assortment that was spared was ramen cups. His little destination took a sidetrack, however, to his favorite and Konoha's only ramen stand. Ichiraku. Hey, old man. He called to the chef. A bowl of miso stew ramen, please. Humming right up, he replied, noting the kid's usual order. When he first came to the stand, it was also the first time he tried ramen and instantly got hooked into it. It was the only place he knew where to find ramen, besides ramen cups. He usually lets Iruka pay for the ramen and eats all he can, bringing the poor Chunin sensei to bankruptcy every time. After his meal, he paid and continued home. His stomach growled again as he made a few steps. He didn't have much money with him, and Iruka had to stay after for parent-teacher conferences, so he only ate what he could afford, which was 2 bowls. He could eat up to 7 and still have room for dessert, and it was hard to get money when you aren't a ninja or have no family to rely on. Growling in frustration and hunger, he kicked an empty can in front of him at a trash can. The impact rattled it, and the boy could swear he saw something move, something round. Curiosity got the better of him as he stepped closer to check it, where it was well hidden behind 3 trash cans set up in a triangle form. He moved aside the one in front and, enduring the smell of fish, sauce and other waste the whole time, reached to grab it. He stopped midway when he got a better glimpse of it. That's the biggest egg I've seen in my life. He exclaimed to no one in particular. Indeed it was a big egg, approximately 6 times bigger than a chicken egg. It was a grayish-white color with patches of green spread around it. It could have been one of the prehistoric eggs Iruka once talked about, but he couldn't be too sure. He leaned closer to pick it up, amazed how something like this managed to stay unscratched for so long, with no parent of the sort. Then again, being protected by a trash circle is bound to lure away predators who like eggs. Hey. The boy, Uzumaki Naruto, froze in mid-thought. The man who shouted at him was an Inyazuka. He could tell from the light blue face paint on his face. The man was actually a midget. He was obviously older but not much taller than Naruto, who was the shortest kid in the academy. His attire was like a jounin. An open green vest and black pants with a weapon pouch tied to his side. His face was long and black, reaching to his butt, and the two lines of face paint that crossed through his eyes and nose in an irregular Y shape, meeting above his upper lip, only added to his rebel look. His brown eyes glared at Naruto. But not like the other villagers who hated just him. This guy seemed to hate everyone. "Who the hell are ye, trespassing in me property?" he demanded, his grunt voice sounding like some hermit farmer. Funny thing is he was just that. He may be an Inyazuka, but his horse was away from the clan grounds and there were vegetables growing in the dirt just across the trash where the two were standing. Naruto was so caught in his hunger that he didn't even notice he wandered near someone's own two-story home. Sorry. Just passing through," said Naruto, scratching the back of his head while hiding the egg behind himself. "I'll be leaving now." He started walking backwards out but didn't make more than 5 steps when he bumped into something pointy and wet. He slowly turned around to find the largest dog he's ever seen in his life. It had a grayish tint of fur, towered both Naruto and the Inyazuka, and had a cute little red ribbon on the top of its head. Naruto knew that the Inyazuka clan was known for raising fierce fighting canines. Frankly, he's never seen a full-grown Inyazuka dog, so he had no clue that all of them grow to be about 3 to 5 feet when they're old enough. "A nice doggy." Naruto tried to calm it down as he reached to pet it, only to get barked at and flinch. The dog was anything but nice. In fact, it was probably as crazy as this Inyazuka hermit. "Injuchian 1, the Inyazuka shouted. "We got ourselves a trespasser." Naruto immediately screamed and ran the opposite direction of the dog, leaping over fences as he did so. Injuchan leaped towards him but only as a warning, since it landed on where he once was and gave off a few loud barks. The Inyazuka climbed up onto his dog and dramatically pointed towards the retreating form of his target. "Sick him, Injuchan," he commanded. The dog howled, then leaped over the fence and chased after one Uzumaki Naruto. "Oh, Sasuke-kun. You look so cute." Uchiha Sasuke sighed. Again as he walks home, he is stalked by 2 girls, the Sasuke Fangirl Club, which was founded around the time he first came to the academy. At first, he was kind of flattered by all the attention, but it soon became annoying when they always follow you whenever you go, and they always fight amongst themselves to see who can win his heart. Coincidentally, they were 2 of the most stubborn fangirls he's ever met. Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka. As usual, the 2 of them are attempting to ask him out on a date, which he would never agree to, since none of them haven't even reached puberty yet, and the former was starting off trying to flatter him with compliments. It would have worked, but something was very wrong with that statement. "I'm not cute, Sakura," he snorted. He then mumbled something that sounded like "I'm handsome." "I agree, Sasuke-kun," said Ino. "You are indeed more handsome than cute." The last Uchiha groaned. He had it worse enough when his older brother killed his entire clan instead of him, but now he had to be tortured by these fangirls who try too hard to understand him when they have no idea what he could be going through. Now he realized why his brother loathed his fangirl club with every fiber in his being. They were so annoying. Do they even have personal lives? "Now that that's settled, can I go home now, without you 2 following me again?" Sasuke asked. The 3 of them were walking back to the Uchiha Manor, with the 2 girls following behind. This is a daily ritual that, unless by some miracle he is able to outwit and or lose the girls following him, happens every time after they get let out the academy. "But Sasuke-kun," said Sakura. "Our parents won't be home until 8 o'clock, being parent-teacher conference and all, so we're free for 3 whole hours. Which gives us every reason to make the most of it," Ino pointed out. Sakura gasped. "You mean?" Ino nodded as the 2 of them grinned. "Sleepover." The 2 girls squealed, completely ignoring Sasuke as he shuddered in fear. There was no way he would get stuck with these 2 for the whole night. Of course, it occurred to him that Sakura and Ino weren't best of friends anymore. Just bitter rivals to win him. Not that he cared. They must have planned this so they would get to know him more and overall try harder in their date requests. Clever little witches. Then, he was struck by inspiration and smirked. "Heh, alright, I'll go." The girls gasped. That sure got their attention. "But I need some stuff back at my house and I don't think it would best for a sleepover, being old and dusty," and all the girls were practically drooling now. He never played girls like this before and he didn't care if they would hate him if he lied to them. In fact, he was hoping that would be the case. Perhaps those flirting tips his brother taught him would actually be of use after all. "So if you 2 would go prepare at your house. Any house would be fine. I'll come around," and he glanced at the sky as if judging its position. 10 minutes or so. Feel free to do anything before then to prepare. He smirked. That did it. Hook, line, sinker. Yai. Sasuke-kun loves me. The two girls squealed. Finally, their Sasuke was spending quality time with them. As they walked away, arguing where to hold the sleepover, Sasuke breathed with relief. He didn't think it would actually work and he was never one to lie. He would have to come up with a big excuse for this one when they found out he lied to them. Ah well, at least I'm free for tonight. He smiled as he started walking again, eyes closed. He didn't make much distance as a blur of yellowish white, too, bashed into him at his right side, tumbling them both to the ground. Then Naruto. What the hell are you doing here? Sasuke shouted, brushing the dirt of his clothes. He was not in the mood to put up with Naruto after he was just guaranteed a fangirl last night. Naruto looked at his egg before answering. Sorry, Saz, wait a minute, no I'm not sorry, you stuck-up jerk. I don't even have time to explain because some lunatic in Inuzuka is jazzing me and… What in Inuzuka? Did you tick off Kiba again? Sasuke knew that Naruto didn't have good reputation with their classmate Inuzuka Kiba, but he didn't think he would get another one of Kiba's clan ticked off at him. Before Naruto could explain, a shuriken whizzed right between them, striking on the ground. The two of them stared at the weapon, stark-wide at the fact that the weapon almost hit them. Hey. The voice boomed. Naruto and Sasuke both turned towards the voice to find the hermit and his dog glaring down, with a hand twirling a kunai knife. The man pointed his freehand thumb behind him. Get your ass back to me property so I can criticize you being in me property. He sneered. What the hell is the point in that? Naruto shouted. And who are you? Asked Sasuke. He was curious who would be the man that Naruto got jazzing him. The hermit grunted. Name's Inuzuka Takeo3 and the point is that no one gave you the right to leave me property. You never said I can stay or leave. Naruto shouted in his defense. That doesn't matter. I'll drag your little ass back if I have to. Takeo thrust his finger at him. And I'll be taking that little egg you stole from me too. You idiot. Sasuke growled at Naruto. You stole it from him. Are you just trying to get on everyone's bad side? Hey. He threw this egg away in the trash. Said Naruto. So like the saying goes, you trash is my treasure. So bleh. He kept a firm hug on the egg while sticking his tongue out at Takeo, which only irritated him more. I'll teach you not to make a monkey out of this old dog. Get that egg back, Inju-chan. The dog barked at his command. Just as the dog was about to lunge, Sasuke pointed out behind him. Look, someone's in your property. He said. What? Takeo shouted as he and he dog turned around to see their house, indeed, had someone walking on the lawn. Hey. Get your sorry little ass off me property. Charge, Inju-chan. Charge. The Inuzuka dog leaped off the road and hurried along to the house, leaving the two boys staring at it. How did you know someone was his, property? Asked Naruto. I didn't, Sasuke answered. I just said that so we could use a distraction and run off. Oh, an uneasy silence passed between them, with the only sound being the wind. So, thanks for the help, Sasuke. Sasuke gave him a look that clearly stated you owe me. And with that said, the two of them parted ways. Sasuke briefly wondered what kind of egg it was that Naruto found before remembering to enjoy his free peaceful night. Naruto made sure that Takeo or anyone else wasn't chasing him again before entering his apartment. Then he wasted no time in preparing his meal. The stove was on, burning just under the frying pan. Naruto licked his lips thinking on what to make it. Scrambled, sunny side up, or perhaps an omelette. It was while since he had anything related to an egg, so he had no idea what to go for. He decided to wing it and come up with an idea as he cooked the egg. He picked it up, not noticing that it's shaking a bit. Just as he was about to crack it open, expecting the yolk to come out, the egg hatched. And it wasn't a chicken. He didn't even know what to call it. It was small, bright yellow, and looked like some kind of humanoid dog. The arms and legs were surprisingly tiny, as its green body, with the legs painted in light green as well. The arms shined yellow, and had some metal spikes rising on the flat surface of the wrist. The tail it had was long and soft, but also sensitive like its tiny frame. The only body part that was big was its head, with surprisingly 2 sets of ears. 2 lumps on the top and long floppy ears on its sides. It sat there on the hot frying pan, staring at Naruto with its wide red eyes. The boy could only stare back at awe at what seemed to be one of the most amazing things he's seen in his life. Of course, this experience was short-lived as the sizzling on the frying pan grew louder and it started to process in both minds that the creature's bum was burning. Eee! It cried as it leaped in the air with its rear end on fire. Naruto cursed, quickly turning off the stove. He then rushed over to the sink and turned on the water and brought the creature over to sit in it, drenching the fire and sighing in relief as it did so. After some breaths of relief, Naruto forced a laugh, hoping to release some tension from earlier. Well, you're no chicken, that's for sure. Ryo? Thankfully, the burn on the creature's butt wasn't very fatal. Naruto felt guilty of even thinking about eating it, so he set it on a bowl of cold water to help ease it a bit. It was during that experience that he got a good look at it. It was indeed male. That thing must be some sort of super dogi, wonder what he eats. Luckily, Naruto had a month-time supply of cup ramen to eat, with plenty enough to share with the little dog. In no time, he cooked and prepared 2 home-cooked cups of ramen. One for him and the other for the dog. "Blue? Begin, little guy," said Naruto, and he handed the yellow dog a fork. He used his own and happily scooped and chewed the food he claimed to be God's food. His newfound, pet, after watching him eat a few mouthfuls, started to follow suit of his eating form, albeit fidgeting with the utensils, and ate some of the ramen, expecting something very delicious. He was very disappointed. Naruto stopped eating after noticing the creature's bulging eyes and bloated mouth. He assumed he loved the stuff, considered most people would freeze mid-eating when they figure out they love something. However, that thought was immediately dismissed as the dog turned and spat the noodles onto Naruto's face. It then occurred to him that people freeze mid-eating, not when they like something that they're eating, but hate it as well. Hot noodles. Hot noodles. Naruto screamed, feeling the stinging sensation of hot noodles and broth all over his face. He ran for the sink, tripping on his chair doing so, and hurriedly washed his face to relieve the hot ramen spit from his face. All the while, the dog watched as his clumsy antics, more interested in him than his food. After the blonde academy student finished washing off the broth, he turned to see the dog staring at him. It made him very uncomfortable, being watched like that. It was different though. The staring he usually gets from strangers are ones of scorn, hate, and sometimes nothing, because some people would rather completely ignore him than do anything. This look this dog was given was different. Like a sort of admiration. Hell, he thought he could him smiling. What a minute, dogs don't smile. Then again, it's not really normal, and Inyazuka dogs do smile, but it's still weird. Through some baby talk at constant feeding, Naruto could see that the little guy could only say 5 letters in the form of some word, Riolu. Since he didn't have any better ideas for names, Super Ramen hating dog, Shiny, Tanuki, and even Lucky were all declined to the dog's favor, he just decided to call him Riolu for the time being. They soon left the apartment after many failed attempts to eat the ramen. Nothing worked. Tickling, force-feeding, bribing, he even tried the choo-choo train. Nothing would change this dog's mind about his distaste for ramen. Of course, the dog was still hungry and with nothing but ramen in his apartment, Naruto thought the only logical choice was to go out and buy some dog food or something he can eat. That was much easier said than done though. Every food or general store he entered in the past half hour refused to give him service, which is no surprise to him, and some of them even literally kicked him out, shouting stuff about no more pranks. It was also no surprise since he destroyed one of the food stores earlier. Naruto didn't let it get to him. After years of getting treated that way, you sort of get used to it. It doesn't mean he wouldn't rather wish that he was treated better around here. What seemed to worry him most was how down his dog was. Everyone stared at him, confused as to how Naruto would have gotten such a creature following him. This brought about more attention than usual, but not the good kind that he wanted. But what Naruto didn't notice, since he wasn't very good at the academy, was Rioru was admitting a strong aura around it, getting stronger the more stores declined them, which brought the interest of even expert shinobi. The ninja sensing that aura left the scene quickly, hurrying to inform the Hokage about this. Just when Naruto was about to give up this food search, Rioru stopped walking and its rising aura seemed to vanish. It sniffed into the air a few seconds and then dashed along to find the source of the scent. Wait. Little Riolu. Naruto called off to it, following the dog. When Naruto caught up with the dog, panting, he didn't bother to look around until he started scolding him. Now, Pant, I know that, Pant, that you're hungry, Pant, and all, but Pant, you see an apostrophe T Pant, just. Naruto stopped ranting and panting as he looked around the landscape. It was a forest clearing, one of the largest he's ever seen. Peaceful, tranquil, and filled with tall plant-like trees. The trees had patches of berries growing on them, varying in size, shape, and color. The dog wasted no time in rushing over to one tree and jumping up, trying to reach one of the 2 pink berries. After a few failed attempts, it rushed back to Naruto. Rai. It squeaked, tugging on Naruto's hand. What? Okay. I'll get you some. Naruto walked to the tree and plucked one of the berries hanging there. He tossed it to Rioru, which stared at it like Naruto would at ramen before eating it. It took one more big sniff to savor its scent and started eating it. That good, huh? Asked Naruto, and the dog merely nodded before continuing to consume the fruit. Being the curious boy he was, the blonde also picked a berry, examining it up close. It was an odd shape. Starting from where it was plucked off, it has curve pointing down, forming a sort of mini crescent. Kinda like a banana. It is pink in color, with a hint of yellow at the tip of the curve. He tries a bit, feeling a very sweet citrus taste. Wow. This is the best fruit I've ever tasted. He shouted, with much surprise in his statement. It was a while since he's eaten fruit, mostly because he could never buy fruit without getting caught or declined service, so this was a big first for him. The two of them continued to eat peacefully, unaware of everything else as a woman came into the clearing. She was old. About in her 70s or 80s. Despite that, her body didn't seem to show any weakness of old age. Her old blonde hair was tied behind her back, shoulder height, topped with a hat scarf on her head. She wore a red vest over a white long-sleeved shirt, along with a pair of long navy blue pants. "What are you doing here?" she demanded rather than asked. Her voice was a little raspy, but still whole demeanor. Naruto and the Ryolu, surprised by her sudden appearance, nearly choked on the food before answering. When you get here?" Naruto asked, surprised someone found him here. This place looked so secluded to everyone, even himself. "Just now," she answered patiently. Her face wasn't scary or showed any negativity, but impassiveness. "This is my secret berry orchard, which I put a lot of time and effort into. I don't really like the fact of people just waltzing in and eating whatever they like." "Oh," said Naruto. He had to admit, he too would get peeved if someone would ruin something he put a lot of effort into. Eating an egg from nowhere, picking berries from someone else's orchard. It wasn't a prank, so he had no real reason to be bothering Takeo or this woman. "I'll just be going now then," he said quietly, picking up his dog thing and made his way to leave, only to realize he isn't moving. He tried moving more and more until he was running frantically, which he was actually being held at the end of his shirt by the old woman. His frantic legs did move but just make a dust cloud on the dirt below. "You're not going anywhere yet," she told him. Why not?" asked Naruto. The woman turned his body around to the tree in front of him and he watched as it was slowly but surely withering and shrinking into the soil it was planted in. "What happened?" he asked again as he watched the tree shrink to the bottom of the dirt. "That tree had 2 mango berries on it and you and your dog went up and plucked them both. This is what happens to a berry tree when you pluck out all its berries. I'm just thankful that I'm already growing other mango plants because it would have been a terrible shame to lose a quantity of berries and not being able to plant them again." "Oh. Sorry." The woman didn't seem to care about the apology, but she heard it. "You should be. It's hard enough as it is doing this day in and day out, alone most of the time." She started walking around the orchard, all the while dragging Naruto, much to his displeasure. "I want you to water, fertilize, and replant when I say so," said the woman. "It's a tough job for only one person to handle, and this might help you learn the hardship of gardening." "Wait, gardening is hard work," Naruto said. "How is it so hard to take care of a few little plants?" "I assure you, young man, it's very hard. Just like you, me, and that dog, plants are living creatures too. Just don't move as much and need us to help them benefit them. Think of it like taking care of pets. You have to remember all sorts of things when taking care of pets. When to walk them, when to give them water, when to feed, or what to feed them. Berries such as these are no different. They need plenty of water and sunshine to help make sweet, succulent fruit, or for this case. Sometimes spicy, dry, sour, or bitter. Berries are divided into those 5 taste groups." "Wait a minute. There are berries that are actually spicy." The woman saw Naruto's fearful expression and felt a smile cross her lips. "Small word, isn't it, young man?" 2 hours later, Naruto found himself apologizing to the slightly injured old woman. Sorry old lady, for the plants and the fertilizer in your head." It took a while, but the woman, who introduced herself as Azami4, was able to ingrain in Naruto's mind the basics of gardening. His efforts were lacking a bit in all of them though. He either watered too little or too much for some trees, ruined a good bag of fertilizer when trying to bring it over, and nearly knocked the old woman unconscious with a hoe, by accident of course, she was hit by the handle. He was later deducted use of any gardening tool bigger than a hand shovel. Or merely gave berries so they could plant them. He tried eating some of them, but it turned out that he hated dry berries, and once he took a bit of that gesto, he spat it right back out, afraid to try anything that could actually be dry. It amazed Naruto greatly that just planting one of these berries can create a tree of berries. It could be endless multiplying of berries that way. Azami merely chuckled. "Don't worry yourself, young man. I've seen worse attempts at gardening." Her chuckling seemed to grow louder, but not so much as a full-blown laughter. "Much, much worse." "I see," said Naruto, trying to chuckle himself but failed. It was weird. This woman, whom he met as recently as that crazy Takeo, wasn't as strict as the other villagers. He knew there were still good people in Konoha, despite what they usually say do to him, but he never really imagined it would happen so soon. What if Azami was just using him like everyone else? Hell, she didn't get all mad that he was calling her old lady. Some bodyguards once pointed all their weapons at him and threatened him to show respect when they first heard him call the Hokage old man Hokage. Abasan, why aren't you mad at me? Azami seemed a bit taken by this. Pardon me. I'm not saying I don't like you, it's just he sighed. A lot of people seem to hate me or just completely ignore for some reason. I don't know why though. Riolu stared at him with its sad red eyes, its presence almost unknown to Naruto. Azami stared too, feeling ashamed, but for what, Naruto wasn't sure. This eerily silence dragged on until Azami spoke with a soft smile. Why of course not, lad. Naruto and Ryoru looked up with surprise and hope. You may have made a mistake when entering my orchard and eating berries for the fun of it, but you immediately apologize when others in your postation could have just run off. You had every opportunity to run but didn't and helped do your part. But I didn't have a choice for that matter. Naruto interrupted. I tried to walk away, like you said, but you grabbed me. Azami's smile grew wider. I said run, young man, not walk. Naruto flushed in embarrassment while Riolu chuckled, or at least that's what it sounded like. Nevertheless, she continued. You've shown that you can be responsible for your own actions, and that's ideal for any uprising ninja. Remember that. Naruto, getting praise and acceptance from someone other than the Hokage for the first time, was speechless. He had to resist the urge to hug her, if somehow ruining the moment. Thanks, Abasan. He smiled. And, if it's not too much trouble, maybe me and my Riolu here can, help out with the orchard. If that's okay. Azami smiled. Anytime lad, I'd appreciate it. Now, you better get going. It must be way past your bedtime. Indeed, it was. Now in the clearing, where it was bright and peaceful, it was almost completely covered in shadow. Usually, Konoha is a beautiful place to look at in nighttime than at daytime, where the lights in the village can be seen for as far as the eye can see. Naruto grew excited at the thought to see Konoha after dark with his golden-clad Riolu, and then noticed that it was getting rather sleepy. And it would seem your little friend needs some sleep too, said Azami. What's his name? Name? Naruto chorused. Name? Azami repeated. It seems rather inappropriate to keep calling him Dog the Riolu, or even a pet, you do know what to call him, right? Naruto was really stumped as he switched in his critical thinking face. He was so worked up on feeding the little guy that he didn't have time to come up with a good name, then one thing led to another in gardening, and it just slipped his mind completely. The old lady was right. It did seem inappropriate to call it, him, those things. It didn't take long to think of one though. He had the perfect name. Arashi. Pardon? Azami asked. Naruto grinned. That's his name. Arashi, for one day he's going to become a great typhoon that beats up anything in its way. He emphasized the point by raising his arm in the air. The old gardener smiled. A cute name to call the Riolu. Uzumaki and Arashi. Whirlpool and Tempest. Go figure. That's a splendid name for him, young man. She nodded. Naruto picked the Riolu up the armpits and up high. It is official. You are now named Arashi. And together, we're going to become legends, just like the fourth. Bree. Arashi cheered, but soon got confused as to why it was cheering. Ooh. Naruto gasped at Arashi's confusion and stared at him with huge wide eyes. You're meaning to tell me you don't know who the fourth Hokage is? Ryu, said Arashi. How can you not know him? He's the greatest ninja ever in Konoha. Like one time he fought off these Iwanin in the last Great War and all those moves he did. He teleports, he summons, and he beat the Kyuubi. He's awesome. Naruto kept rambling on about the fourth second's accomplishments, with the newly named Arashi listening with awe as he walked back to the village. Azami could only chuckle at his positive demeanor. Once his form was out of view, she finally spoke. That boy has a good heart. She admitted to no one. A little loud and impulsive, maybe, but still good at heart. And to think, she continued, raising her head to stare at the waning crescent moon. I've been so lucky to see Ryoru again. And that young man is lucky to have one. End chapter. Chapter 2. Power of a Riolu. Sarutobi sighed. Being Hokage wasn't all that was cracked up to be. For one thing, there was paperwork. A lot of paperwork. Hell, he would have to stay after dark, sometimes just to finish sorting out some of the complicated forms and complaints every day. Since he was the ruler of the village, he also had to go through some new appointed laws that get passed by the council and would have to get passed by him or be vetoed. This night was no different. And as usual, he would see some laws to be that involve Naruto. Keep unadulterated children away from food stores. No unadulterated children allowed into the academy unless appointed by guardian or otherwise. No shirt, no shoes, no adults, no service. The list just keeps going. Well, these rules meant for orphans and to regulate any crime, they usually are targeted towards Naruto because no one would want to adopt him and they want to put him in his place. The third Hokage sometimes had to reread some of them to find some loophole or trick to these demands. Once he's sure, he can veto it or pass it. Usually though, some laws can be overridden by his veto if a 3/5 of the village all vote yes again. Some of those types of laws were passed because of this, unfortunately. Even as strong as he is, a Hokage's power isn't absolute in law and order. He was barely able to convince the council to not reveal the identity of Naruto's fate. It saddened him that not everyone was happy in his village. The previous Hokages always did everything in their power to protect their village, even if it meant their lives. When did it get so hard for him to help everyone? How is it he couldn't make everyone happy no matter what he did? Why can't he help one poor child more than he already can? What happened to his carefree years when he was teaching Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru? The Sandaime took a deep inhale on his pipe, then sighed, releasing some steam from his mouth. I'm getting too old for this. If only one of them were here to take over the position of Hokage. Hokage-sama. That blurt along with a series of loud knocks was more than enough to break Sandaime out of his train of thought. Enter, he answered. The door to his office opened and two Chunin entered the room. One was wearing a cap bearing the leaf symbol over his head with his brown hair covering his right eye. The other one had spiky black hair all over the place, wore a leaf headband across his forehead and a loin cloth across the bridge of his nose. Hamazuki Izumo and Hagane Katetsu. What brings you here tonight? We have something to discuss involving the brat, Uzumaki Naruto. The spiky-haired Chunin known as Katetsu stated. Should have known, the Hokage thought bitterly, but replied, if it's about the food store, I've already heard. News tends to travel fast, and he was already informed about this from some other Jounin earlier today. That's not it, Hokage-sama. Izumo corrected. Sarutobi was surprised. Surely Naruto couldn't pull two pranks today. What do you mean? He said evenly, with a hint of concern. Well, it is, but after that incident I mean. You see, shortly after he left, he was seen being chased around several blocks by an Inyazuka and his dog. It was later clarified to be Takeo. But what happened afterwards is the really strange part. The Sandaime now felt curious. What could be stranger for Naruto other than being a demon jailer and being chased by an ex-jounin? You see, Izumo continued. We personally asked Uchiha Sasuke about this because he was the only person who got close enough to see what he had. He said Naruto was holding an egg. A large one at that, while being chased. He didn't know what it was nor bothered to ask. We also interviewed Takeo about this and he said that he stole the egg from his trash can. Later, he and a bright yellow raccoon dog were walking around the whole village and got declined to a total of 3 general stores and 6 food stores. The creature emitted a strong chakra spike each time they were declined and surprisingly vanished a little later. What are you getting at? Asked Sarutobi. We think the kid has found a Riolu. Katetsu answered. The silence that soon followed was short but seemed to last a lot longer. It was surprising that a retired shinobi had an egg under his nose, but for it to be a Riolu egg. The Hokage started to clear his voice before speaking. Are you absolutely sure? We haven't seen one in over. -15 years, I know. Izumo interrupted. We're having doubts too, with it being yellow instead of blue, but the thing has the same features and abilities as any other Riolu. And you assume that it came from the egg Naruto found earlier? Sarutobi asked again. I don't see any other logical explanation, Hokage-sama. Said Katetsu. Both he and Izumo had a hard time believing all this as well, but it was pretty hard to ignore the fact that a Riolu has reappeared after so long, in Naruto's care no less. What should we do with it, Hokage-sama? Izumo asked. It'll be hard to take the Riolu away from him, now that it thinks the kid's his mom, Katetsu stated as a matter of factly. It was only common knowledge that a newborn would instantly think the first person it sees as its parent. The third Hokage thought long and hard about this. The Riolu was possibly the only one of its kind, let alone Pokemon, around for miles. The Pokemon all seemed to disappear from Konoha's forest since the Kyuubi attacked. Still, was it really a bad thing for Naruto to have it? Let's have the boy keep the Riolu. This very statement from the Hokage shocked both Chunin present. Hokage-sama. Are you sure? Izumo asked. Sarutobi nodded. Naruto never had anyone to watch over him this past decade, so he usually had to rely on his own wits just to survive. While this Riolu might be a very special case, this might help Naruto learn a little responsibility and give him the family he never had. The Riolu may never be a good replacement for him, but at least Naruto would have something relevant to a family and not be completely alone. It's a shame the same couldn't be done for Sasuke. Before both Chunin could say something, and Sarutobi had a good idea what, he quickly added, and it might keep him away from doing pranks on the village. Izumo and Katetsu hesitated, exchanged glances, and said nothing. They seemed all okay for that. But there was still a problem, or rather two. What if the kid doesn't want the Riolu? Katetsu asked. And what about the council? Izumo added. The Sandaime was already aware that he would inform the council about the situation, but it didn't occur to him that Naruto might have not wanted this responsibility in the first place. He was always goofing off, hiding the fact that he hates to be alone, and no one even bothers to see how false it is, or have tried but couldn't. It took himself a while to see through Naruto's happy-go-lucky mask, surely he can't keep up such a facade forever. Worry not. I'll take care of everything. He said. Thank you for informing me. But would you mind if you tell Takeo to come see me? I like to ask about this matter with him personally. Of course, Hokage-sama. They said simultaneously. Very good. Dismissed. Satisfied, Kitetsu and Izumo bowed and left the Sandaime to continue his paperwork. After the two of them got home, Naruto told Arashi all sort of stories about Namikaze Minato, where most of the time he either rambled or looked into a book of the fourth Hokage. The textbook didn't have much, but Naruto improvised, and Arashi enjoyed every minute of it. The storytelling lasted until Naruto realized that the Ryōru was sleeping, and he soon dozed off too. The next morning, Naruto ate his ramen, and Arashi ate some pecha berries as Ami gave them. The pechas were hollow inside and didn't have enough sweetness that Amigo did, but it was suitable. Well, I have to go to the academy today, Arashi. Naruto told him after breakfast. Arashi whined. Hey, I don't want to leave either, but I have to be a great ninja someday, and I can't do that if I keep skipping out on the academy. Although most of the stuff there is boring anyway, Naruto mused. He was just glad that he didn't get born as a girl and go through silly stuff like flower arrangement and put up with even more boring stuff. Ryōru. The dog whined again, flailing its arms around. Ryo, Luo. What? Naruto asked, scratching his head. He didn't understand a word he just said, so he decided to take a guess and ask. You want to come to the academy with me? Ryo. Well said Naruto. He didn't see any harm in it. It might get him more attention this way from everyone, like he always wanted, and pets aren't really restricted if they can train under ninja arts like their owners. Kiba's dog and Shino's bugs can be in the academy with them, so what's the harm in bringing Arashi? Besides, he can't really trust him to be good on his own, with nothing much to do and that landowner. Okay, you can come. Naruto grinned, and in turn Arashi cheered. But you got to be on your best behavior, okay? Ryōru. This is all your fault, Ino. Sakura ranted. My fault? Screeched Ino. Everything would have been fine if Sasuke-kun knew which house to go to. Sasuke tried hard to ignore the girls bickering at one another over the failed sleepover last night. He didn't bother going over to either of their houses since he would rather be at home training. His lie didn't affect at all how they reacted towards him, but rather towards each other. His afternoon, however, wasn't as peaceful as he had hoped. Jounin came to his house a little later and asked about Naruto's egg. He told them he didn't know what it was, but stole it from Takeo's trash can. It really relieved him, though, when he found out it was them at the door and not Sakura or Ino last night, coming over to remind him of the sleepover. It was around the time that Naruto stepped into the classroom, along with a little yellow dog hanging over his shoulder. Sasuke never saw anything of its kind before, and it didn't look like any Inuzuka dog. Most of them were identical, and this one really showed individuality. Sasuke showed no interest, if he had any, to ask how Naruto got this new creature. He had a good idea how anyway. Everyone else seemed to hush one by one until everyone finally noticed Naruto's little pet. Both of them stared back in a way that would say what? Inuzuka Kiba decided to voice everyone's thoughts. Hey, Naruto, where the hell did you get that runt? Naruto exchanged a quick glance with Arashi before answering. I found him. Kiba smirked. Where? In a dumpster. Well, it was partially true that Naruto found Arashi's egg in a trash can, the meaning of the insult was enough to make him mad. That's for me to know and for you not to find out, dog boy. Before Kiba could retort on that comment, the other students gathered around closer and were all saying how Naruto wasn't allowed to bring pets into the academy. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to be Hokage someday and they can break laws once in a while. Everyone basically rolled their eyes at the word Hokage being the kid with the lowest grades in history. It was highly unlikely Naruto would get that occupation. But he didn't finish from there. Besides, Buggy and Dog Boy can bring their pets with them, right? Of course. Kiba barked while Shino merely nodded. He didn't seem at all fazed at the mention of Buggy, but calling his bugs pets annoyed him a little. Not that anyone noticed. Inuzuka hunting dogs and Aburam Kikai bugs are necessary tools for their respective clans, thus need to be trained with us. He said. Well, if bugs and dogs can be trained like ninja, then Arashi here can too. Naruto boasted, turning quickly to the Ryōru. Right. Arashi nodded. Kiba smirked. Sure, bugs and dogs can, but that's because they work together with our unique bloodlines. You don't even have one. Much less know what that mutt can do for you. He's pretty much useless. That can be said the same for your blind pooch. Naruto fired back, a few of the students oohed at his diss. You take back what you said about Akamaru. Kiba growled, not taking the insult very lightly. Naruto was equally ticked off. Not until you take back what you said to Arashi. The two of them continued to stare off, giving everyone the intention that the two were going to fight again. Heck, Naruto fights Kiba almost as frequent as he challenges Sasuke, most of which the black-haired boy declined over the years. The only ones he took were during sparring matches at the beginning of the year. It was around this point that Yumi no Ruka, the class teacher, came into the room. Alright everyone. Back to your seats. Free period is over. Everyone started to walk back to their seats except for Naruto and Kiba, who were still staring. Finally, the Inyazuka boy huffed and broke off the stare, as if thinking the argument wasn't worth his time. Naruto was about to walk back when Iruka stopped him. Naruto, what's that on your shoulder? He asked. His name's Arashi, said Naruto. I found him. Iruka stared at the dog before nodding slowly. I see. After that, Naruto went to his seat, where Iruka started roll call. Naruto could hear whispers from people talking about Arashi. They were rather insults than compliments. Arashi heard this too and started to feel depressed, but Naruto reassured him before his aura gave off again. Okay class, take out your textbooks and turn to page 93. The class was full of moans. It was another history lesson. Naruto was just about ready to doze off, but Arashi kept him up feeling he might miss something important. Naruto was about to tell him that Iruka never teaches anything a ninja is worth knowing later on, but Arashi was reluctant. Naruto started to open his book but was on the wrong page, but after glancing at it, he kept on reading. It also turned out that he wasn't going to forget this little history lesson for a long time. A long time ago, before the world was created, there existed only a magnificent creature known as Arceus. With its 1,000 arms, it created the world and universe we live in today. Shortly afterwards, Arceus had created two of its sons, Dialga and Palkia, rulers of time and space respectively, and then created the three essences of our planet, Rayquaza of the skies, Groudon of the earth, and Kyogre of the seas. Another creature known as Mew was said to be born around this time, for it's to be the ancestor of all other creatures before it. Over the years, the world started to populate with unique creatures, along with the human race. The creatures, created by Arceus, represented the very elements on the earth. The dirt and soil of our planet, the vast open seas, even darker impure malice. They were unique and very powerful, as well as intelligent. Humans have later developed a capturing device to carry and tame these creatures. These devices, because of the fact they are handheld and carryable, are called pocketballs or pokeballs for short. The creatures were named pocket monsters or Pokemon because of the pokeballs. Uzumaki Naruto. Ah. Naruto jerked. He was so stuck in his reading he didn't even remember he had to read along with Iruka. Would you mind reading to the class the second paragraph? Alright. Naruto quickly turned his book to page 93 and read the second paragraph without looking it over first. Each types of Pokemon have their respective strengths and weaknesses. The fire type, for example, can melt ice, burn grass and… During his reading, everyone was keeping a muffled chuckle, knowing that Naruto was reading the entirely wrong thing, but then burst into full-blown laughter. Naruto slumped back into his seat, embarrassed. He wanted attention, but not if it makes him look like a complete idiot. The fact that he would do pranks all the time implied it, but never proved it. Iruka sighed as he rubbed his hand against his head. Naruto, are you even reading out of the right textbook? This is shinobi history, not science fiction or fantasy. After class, everyone went outside for recess, playing games and practicing in wetnet. Naruto and Arashi, in particular, sat under a tree. The former was rereading his book and the latter eating berry after berry. The book assigned to Naruto, he knew wasn't the right issue. Heck, it wasn't anything shinobi related. He, along with the other classmates, all got their books assigned and were told that these would be used until the day they graduate. They can also keep them, for reference in the future. What Naruto didn't understand, at first, was why he got a book that was so different from everyone else. Perhaps someone didn't want to graduate and gave him a hand-me-down. The pages looked as if they were written years ago and were brown and surprisingly sturdy. The drawings inside showed diagrams of weird creatures or Pokemon with even weirder names. Such as a giant praying mantis called a Scyther or an electric yellow mouse with red cheeks called a Pikachu. Even the cover was foreign looking. It showed a giant picture of a sort of ball. Half red on the top, half white on the bottom, with a little white dot in the middle of the two half circles. Must be what they called a Pokeball, thought Naruto. Well, would you look at this? Naruto and Arashi glanced up to see Kiba and his group of guys walking towards them. Akamaru, as usual, was sitting on top of Kiba's head. The brat's reading his little poodle a bedtime story, he said. They quickly laughed at his implied joke. Shut up, dog boy. Naruto shouted, not wanting to deal with him right now. Why not walk yourself to a fire hydrant? The Inyazuka smirked. It was a bad joke and both of them knew it. Whatever. I don't have time to spend with losers and loser dogs. Again he laughed, walking off. Naruto was downright seething at his retreating back. Calling him names he could live with. But calling Arashi names. He put up with enough hard times in his life and just because Arashi was with him doesn't mean he should be treated as such. Without another thought, Naruto quickly dug into his bag, pulled out an oran berry and chucked it at Kiba's head. It exploded at his hood and stopped the Inyazuka. What was that? He growled, slowly turning towards Naruto. Nobody makes fun of Arashi like that. Naruto said with defiance in his words. Anyone who does, I kick their ass. Kiba smirked. Fighting the academy's dead last student would do well in satisfying him. He gave Akamaru to one of the kids following him and shifted into his battle stance. Bring it, brat. The mention of Naruto and Kiba fighting spread like wildfire. Almost everyone gathered around to see who would win. Some exceptions, Sasuke, Shino, Hinata and Choji, all stood at the background watching, besides Shikamaru who was napping. Everyone else gathered around the two, chanting fight. Fight. Over and over again. Naruto made the first move. He rushed towards Kiba, attempting to throw a right jab at his face and then follow up with a wide left kick. Kiba easily dodged the first hit by tilting his head to the left, then sidestepped back from the next, quickly lunging in for a right jab at the gut when his guard was down. What the hell was that? Kiba spat, enjoying Naruto's gasped expression from the punch. His opponent quickly scowled at him and threw a punch at him again, only to met the same result. Feeling to quickly attack Kiba before he reacts again, Naruto threw punch after punch, advancing as he did so. His punches, however, were swerving from side to side without any real aim or energy into them. Kiba easily sidestepped each punch, smirking as he did so. What's wrong? He taunted. Can't hit me? Well, allow me. At the end of that sentence, he lunged again, striking a hard punch into Naruto's gut again. He quickly pulled back his arm, swirled around to Naruto's back, and in a swift motion, he swept Naruto's legs and elbowed the back of his neck, causing him to fall down hard. Good for nothing dead last. He shouted, kicking his side 5 times and sending him flying to a tree at the 5th. The impact was hard and Naruto screamed as the cracking of his spine echoed throughout the area. Nobody cheered or gave sympathy. They all just simply watched. I almost feel bad for your dog Arashi, was it? Said Kiba. He had to find a poor, weak caretaker like you to look after him. He started laughing, as did mostly everyone else. The ones who didn't continue to watch for amusement. Arashi stared at everyone with wide eyes. Since he first hatched, everyone was looking at him weird except the nice berry lady. Naruto was always nice to him and would give him feedback that cheered him up. Naruto himself was treated badly and he was only trying to fight for him. But here, he was beaten and everyone laughed at him. How dare they? How dare they do this to his master? In 1 second, everyone was laughing and enjoying the match that Kiba won, but the next, Arashi disappeared and immediately reappeared, kicking Kiba right in the face. Hard. It was enough to make everyone present speechless. The hell? Kiba voiced everyone's thoughts after a long silence, rubbing his cheek where he was hit. Arashi growled, glaring and showing his canine teeth. His once innocent red eyes were now menacingly seething with anger. Arashi? Naruto choked, still sore from Kiba's beating. Arashi didn't acknowledge Naruto's concern. All that mattered to him was Kiba. Slowly, his right paw started to glow and increase in size until it formed a small, silver round sphere. Everyone was surprised, but only Sasuke and Kiba didn't show it. Choji quickly woke Shikamaru and told him to see this, and the normally lazy student was just as surprised as everyone else. Oh, so you know a few tricks, eh? Kiba taunted, trying to act unthreatened. Well, bring it, mutt. Without another warning, Arashi ran towards Kiba at a speed which would rival even Chunin and Jounin. Everyone's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets at the display if they weren't blinded by the sudden burst of wind around him, that is. But the Kiba never got to finish his curse as the Ryoru threw his glowing paw at Kiba's gut. He then swung his lithe body to the left, kicking his right chest muscle, and used the momentum to climb up his body with a flurry of hits, finishing off with a glowing punch at the head. Kiba was sent flying through that area and crashed into a tree, creating a crater about midway deep inside. Kiba's body didn't move, but slumped down from the crater onto the dirt, showing signs of unconsciousness or death. Akamaru, along with some other kids, rushed over to see if he was okay. Arashi breathed heavily, in and out, staring at the boy who mocked him, mocked Naruto, and more importantly, he beat up. He didn't know why, but somehow, he felt awful inside. His paw returned to normal and collapsed to his knees, still panting until Naruto came over and picked him up. If the scene wasn't so serious, he would have praised Arashi how amazing he kicked Kiba's ass. But everyone was staring at them, fear rather than indifference. He knew that he didn't have the energy or heart to go through the rest of the day, nor could Arashi, so he walked away. As he passed through the field, he could hear kids whispering to one another. "Did you see that? That dog beat Kiba. I always knew it was weird looking, but I never thought it could pull such a hard punch. Literally. Geez, that thing is as much of a freak as its owner. I sure hope that brat doesn't use that thing to kill Sasuke-kun. No way. Those two are too weak to pull that off. Nobody could possibly beat Sasuke-kun. It nearly killed Kiba without getting hit. What makes you think that monster can't do the same for Sasuke? SHHHH. You don't want to get it mad, do you? Yeah, you better run, demons." That last comment was a yell rather than a whisper. Naruto gave no remark to the rude and hurtful comments, while he was in just as much shock at Arashi's power. Maybe a trip to Izami's would help them feel better. Chapter 3. Making amends. The council is getting harder to please these days, Iritobi mused. He was just walking out of the meeting hall to discuss Naruto's discovery of a Ryolu, and almost immediately the whole council erupted with demands and complaints. It took him a good hour to calm them down and another to convince them to have the Ryoru stay in his care. That is of course, that if Naruto wants to keep the Ryoru. The Sandaime was glad things went smoothly as they did. The council would do anything to save a certain clan from extinction. While they couldn't reach Sasuke's needs for whatever reason, they could easily take away the Ryolu and raise it to an adult capable to mate and making more Ryolu. They can be very desperate when they need to, and it sickened him. Even if it was the first Pokemon they've come in contact with in over a decade, they had no right to assume immediately what was best for the Ryolu met what was best for the village. Hokage-sama. The Hokage broke out of his train of thought as a recognizable scarred Chunin rushed over to see him. When he finally caught up, he leaned forward and supported himself on his knees, a sign of exhaustion. "Ah, Iruka. What is it?" he asked. "It's Naruto's Ryolu," Iruka panted. "Again?" Sarutobi thought, feeling a case of deja vu. "I already heard. He's found it, correct?" Iruka looked confused for a minute before continuing. Yes, but that's not all of it." "Not again," Sarutobi sighed. "Definitely deja vu. What happened?" "Well, when he first came in with Arashi the Ryolu's name, everyone seemed to look at him. It didn't seem serious during class, but during recess, a student, Inuzuka Kiba, was injured." Sarutobi's eyebrows shot up. "What?" "From what the students told me, Kiba talked to Naruto and insulted Arashi, getting Naruto mad. They fought, and Kiba was winning, when out of the blue, the Ryolu assaulted Kiba and punched him into a tree. He's currently at the hospital, suffering from a half-damaged ribcage, bruised cranium, broken left arm and leg, and bent spine. The doctors say he would likely be staying there for 2 to 3 weeks at best. It's a miracle he's even alive at all, or even surprising how much damage the Ryolu did." The Sandaime was very surprised by this turn of events. He knew it would only be sooner or later that Naruto would react from his treatment, but to have a Ryolu to retaliate and injure another student. Their emotions were more sensitive than the Hokage realized. "Where is Naruto now?" he asked. Iruka shook his head. "No clue. I checked all his usual places. His apartment, Ichiraku, even the Hokage monument. I don't know where he is now." "I see," Sarutobi sighed, heading back to his office. He would have to talk to Naruto about this another day. For the meantime, he could use a break from the normal paperwork and decided to detour away from his office. Perhaps a walk around the village would suffice. Yamanaka Ino was seen walking down the road to her flower shop. She was just as surprised and shocked by Naruto's pet thing as rest of the class. It looked harmless enough, but she could swear she heard the sound of bones cracking when it assaulted Kiba like that, and it looked completely feral at the time. That was no normal dog. Hell, never once in her life had she heard a dog say Rio as a form of speaking. Ruff, arf, and bark, yes, but never Rio. It was no Inuzuka dog either or any other clan dog. Usually Inuzuka dogs aren't very different in breeds and looked alike, but from its unusual body to its dual set of ears, it looked more like a raccoon dog than anything else. And raccoon dogs aren't normally aggressive either. They're mostly cowards and would hide or play dead to protect themselves from predators. But then again, Naruto was that, Arashi's caretaker, and it must have fought Kiba as a sort of way to protect him. Shikamaru used to do the same thing for Choji until everyone thought it was troublesome to get the lazy boy ticked off. Naruto's Kindle have such a protective raccoon dog, she didn't know what would happen if it stepped up to fight Kiba then. But with such raw power it made her worry if it would actually hospitalize Sasuke too. What am I talking about? Sasuke-kun is the best student in class. There's no way he can be beaten by that raccoon dog. While she wanted to believe what she was thinking, it actually seemed very possible. Even Sasuke isn't that fast or strong. Ino shook her head to get rid of such negative thoughts. Sasuke's better than Arashi and that's that right. She was coming around the corner with her flower shop just at the side and walked in. She quickly passed through and went out the back door. With her father out on a mission and her mother running errands, her house was partially free again. She would rather spend time with Sasuke and try to get him to cave in and go with her on a date, but he managed to slip away to his home before she, Sakura, or the rest of the fangirl club noticed. Besides, she needed to talk to someone about this who wouldn't gossip or isn't a biased fan of all this. She went to see her grandmother. "What's wrong, lad? You seem upset." Naruto was working on the berry orchard for the past 2 hours, his mind a complete mess. He appreciated Azami's concern, but he had a hard time believing Arashi acting the way he did, like a stray killer dog with rabies. Arashi, meanwhile, was quietly eating berries, being sure not to eat some of the rare ones. He too felt emotionally distant. "I don't really know," he said finally. I don't know what to feel. Arashi acted so beastly earlier, and… "What do you mean by that?" Azami interrupted gently. "Oh, well, Arashi and I were minding our own business, and Kiba just makes fun of Arashi because of my bad reputation. That is, being the worst in the class. I got mad, we fought, I was losing, and then…" The old woman nodded. "That's when Arashi went beastly, isn't it?" "Yeah," Naruto nodded as well. It was amazing and frightening at the same time. He suddenly beat Kiba, Youth acted completely different when he did, and he almost killed him. I never felt something like this before. "Well, Arashi probably acted the way he did to protect you." Naruto's eyes widened with realization. "You think?" "Of course," said Azami. "He was probably mad that you were hurt and wanted to stop the fighting, but things got out of hand. It's likely to be an infant so it may take the situation differently or possibly forget it." "He doesn't seem that young to me," said Naruto. "Sure, Arashi hatched only yesterday, but the way it acted and walked spoke very differently. It's probably 2 years old in real years." "Just to remember to apologize to the boy later," Azami reminded, not seeming to notice Naruto's eyes turned comically white. "Why should I?" he yelled. That bastard got what was coming to him for making fun of Arashi. Azami didn't even flinch at the outburst, though he really is as loud as they say. He could destroy what's left of her eardrums. "I'm aware, but don't you feel responsible for Arashi's actions against him?" Naruto lowered his head, knowing it was true. "It's better to live and forget rather than still get mad over the past," she said sagely. "It's not worth the time or effort, you would find yourself very depressed and alone in the end. Trust me. You live to regret it when you would hold on to a petty argument and lost a valuable friend in the process. That's what happened to my granddaughter after all, and while she doesn't want to admit it, she's very upset about it." Naruto said nothing, but knew what the woman was saying was right. As much as he hated Kiba, he would apologize and try to work things out. The Ryori stared him at a distance, and they exchanged glances and smiled at one another. He was still the cute sweet-tooth munching dog he met, and nothing would change that. "Thank Kabe-san." He smiled to Azami. She smiled back. "Anytime, lad." "Grandmaya." A sudden familiar feminine voice broke through the silent clearing, and a sound of rustling leaves was heard. "I have something I want to talk." Ino walked midway into the clearing before freezing at the sight of another blonde in the clearing. 321. Ay. Both blondes shouted, pointing at the other. You know my granddaughter?" asked Azami, unaffected by their sudden yell. The birds, however, were and flew away squawking. Arashi, as well, was dizzy and had fallen on the ground, twitching, just trying to cover his poor eardrums. Sometimes it didn't pay to have 4 ears. "Granddaughter?" Naruto shouted again, completely shocked that they were related. "You know him?" Ino asked at the same time, a bit calmer. "Why is here, anyway?" "Yamanaka." Azami chuckled. This young man, for whatever reason, somehow found out the berry orchard on his own and ate the berries on display. She explained. "But," he apologized and was even willing to help around the orchard. "I really don't mind another hand around here since you or your parents are rarely around. So, he decided to come over every day to help me with this hard daily routine I go through since he and Arashi seem to enjoy it so well." The unexpected burp-sounding noise came from the Ryolu, who seems to be recovering from his little seizure. Ino was fuming mad. She didn't expect Naruto, of all people, to come to the secret Yamanaka berry orchard and for her grandmother to actually be willing to let him in. It's supposed to be a sacred family thing, not open for jobs. Then again, she was right about never having help and she was partly at fault for always following Sasuke, but still. "I still don't see why he has to be here," she said. "He'll just kill the plants before they'll fully grow." "Hey!" Naruto shouted, not caring she is related to this nice old lady. "You haven't even seen what kind of gardening I can do. You're probably worse at it than me." "What?" she screeched, obviously offended. "You take that back." "Make me," Naruto taunted. Fine. Fine. Both shouted, glaring daggers at one another before they broke out, grunted, and walked to opposite ends of the orchard. Arashi woke up from his dizzy state sometime during the argument and stared at them as they walked off before rushing to Naruto. Neither took notice that their argument made no sense, probably because they didn't want to hear the other again. Something tells me those two are going to get along just fine, Azami thought with a smile. An hour had passed since Ino had arrived, and the children seemed to be in content with each other, coexisting in the same clearing, but not enough to actually talk to one another. At least, at first. Ino noticed that Naruto was doing a lot of things wrong and would often point them out to him, only to lead to another mini-argument which consisted of comparing what they were doing, why it's wrong, and trying to get him to do it right, where he would just brush it off and try to do things his way still. This went on for about 5 times already. But after the first hour, the two of them seemed to calm down, and Naruto would take some of Ino's advice, noting how easier it is, such as when watering a plant you count to 7, when adding fertilizer to an already planted seed you dig around the plant as to not suddenly pull it out, and when planting a berry, you only dig 2 shovel scoops of dirt before planting it in and covering it in dirt. Ino herself almost forgot that she wanted to talk to her grandmother until Azami asked her. "So, Ino-chan," she said. "What was it you wanted to talk about?" "That raccoon dog," Ino started, trying to recollect her feelings earlier. "It suddenly got all mad and attacked one of your classmates, didn't he?" Azami interrupted. Ino gasped. "You know. The young man told me about it shortly before you came along and he felt the same way." Ino's eyes widened. Naruto was actually as scared as everyone else. She was only aware how upset he was before the dog attacked. After that, he just picked him up and walked off. Arashi has the potential of giving the boy a bright future, yet he is unaware of it. He reacted the way he did because he only wanted to protect him from harm, but couldn't make the situation much less serious. "You're telling me? That thing acted like a monster?" Ino shouted. "His name is Arashi, not Thing." Azami reminded her in her normal nice tone. "And how he acts reflects on how the young man is treated. I wouldn't be surprised that it would come after you if you met the same requirements like your friend Kiba. Don't worry, neither of them don't mean any harm and I'm sure you'll get along great with them." Ino knew that much. Naruto may be a loud class-skipping prankster who tries to ask Sakura out a lot, but he also tried to make friends once, only to have the parents carry them away and telling them he was a nuisance. She knew. She and Sakura were few of those people. Yet her grandmother didn't see Naruto like that and it couldn't be because of Arashi. Or was it? Naruto said he found him, but it could mean that he had Arashi for a long time before the academy and people hated him because of the raccoon dog. In a way, that made sense. Naruto and Arashi were seen by a blooming leppa tree. Naruto was watering it while Arashi leaned against it eating orange berries. Just yesterday the former was a bumbling idiot pulling pranks and he seemed to change so quickly ever since he found that dog. Maybe the life of parenthood has that effect on people. He always grew up on his own after all. Maybe he had no idea how to react to this at all. Little did she knew, Ino was right. Naruto had just got Arashi yesterday and didn't even know he was keeping him throughout all this. He seemed all attracted to the Ryoro as he was to him. Maybe because he reminded him so much of himself when he was younger. Back at the orphanage, he didn't know how or why, but he could tell he was being treated unfair. At first, he would complain as to why some people got more treatment than him, such as more food and more clothes, as all youngsters would do. But then the adults would glare at him immediately and scare him so much he stopped. He thought maybe they didn't give him attention because he complained a lot, so he stopped complaining. That didn't work either. In fact, it was worse. He was ignored more and eventually the people forgot his name entirely. He would have forgotten it too, but didn't. His name was the only thing at the time he had precious to him and he wouldn't lose it. Naruto couldn't make friends for one reason or another. The caretakers would take them away and somehow convince them not to be near him anymore. It got so depressing that he sometimes cried to sleep until one night, when he was dreaming, he met a fox who suddenly yelled at him. "Shut up. You think crying will solve everything? That's the kind of shit only cowards would do." How that happened, he may never know, but in the end, what the fox said was right. Even if no one could support him, he would somehow persevere and become someone they could count on. A ninja, maybe a Hokage even. But here Arashi was put into the same situation he was. Different. People gave him more stares than usual, or rather at Arashi, because he had to admit he was weird looking. Arashi seemed to be very emotional and let his feelings out so much, more than he did anyway. If he was left alone, the situation would be worse than it was for him. He may never admit it, but he hated the way Konoha raised him. Ignored him, treated him like dirt, thought he was some monster. He couldn't hold it against everyone in the village, but overall he wished things wouldn't have been so hard for his first few years. He didn't want anyone else to go through that same life he did. He won't let Arashi be treated like that. Hey, he was so caught in his thoughts that he didn't notice that Ino was right behind him. You're watering that too much. Huh? Naruto noticed that there was a small puddle under the tree and quickly stopped. Plants tend to drown if you water them like that, she chided. Yeah, said Naruto, annoyed. The two of them said nothing afterwards, and Naruto assumed the blonde girl left until she spoke again. What does he like? What? He said. What kind of berries does Arashi like? Naruto glanced at her. He didn't expect her to actually remember Arashi's name. He glanced at him, who was still eating some orange berries, not noticing the attention or giving them any mind that he noticed. Mango, pecha, anything sweet. He hates Chesto though. And ramen. Ino ignored the last comment with a roll of the eyes. Like sweet and hates dry must be a very happy little guy. Naruto was confused now. What do you mean? My grandma told me once that when Pokemon were common around here, that what kind of berries reflect what their natures are. Since he likes sweet and hates dry, he has a jolly nature or something like that. When Pokemon were common. He repeated. Blue? Said Arashi, equally interested. Ino nodded. It was before the Kyuubi invasion, but my grandma said this place was always full of unique creatures that would come here and eat the berries around here. But now no one comes here. Oh, said Naruto, exchanging glances with Arashi. Then, why does Abachan work so hard on Ao? Hey! Ino yelled, just whacking Naruto's head. That's my grandmother you're talking about. Sorry he said, rubbing his head. Ino sighed. This isn't just a gathering place for Pokemon that used to come here but didn't. The berries here are usually grinded up into special perfumes we use at our flower shop. Really? Of course. She smirked. It's the secret to why our flower shop is so popular. She then glared darkly at Naruto. And if you tell anyone about this, it'll be the last thing you'll ever do. Naruto and Arashi slowly nodded, intimidated by her killer intent, which to Naruto feels very similar to Sakura's. It was about sunset when Izami called it a day, thanking the blondes and Arashi for the assistance. Don't forget now, lad, she said to Naruto. That you have to apologize to your classmate about earlier. I won't, Abasan. He said, Arashi leaning over his shoulder again. I'll do it tomorrow. Why wait? Ino asked. Well, the hospital is pretty far from here and it's almost dinner time. The hospital doesn't close until 8 and you have plenty of time to get there and back to any meal you have. Besides, Kiba's very stubborn and if you don't try to make it up today he'll think you really did mean it. But what's the harm in waiting a day? Naruto asked, suddenly noticed how angry Ino was getting. You're going to that hospital and say you're sorry right now. Wah. Okay. I'll go. Naruto screamed, feeling deja vu from whenever he got Sakura mad. Suddenly, that crazy hermit and his big dog don't seem as scary as Ino or Sakura right about now. Fearing for the same effect that she gave off from those two, he ran off with Arashi clinging onto him for dear life. Thanks for the talk, Grandma. Ino said sweetly and bowed before chasing after the other blonde. Once they were both gone, Izami chuckled to herself. Ah yes, those two are going to get along just fine. You can't leave now. What about your son? Our son. You promised to retire. I wish that's the case, but as long as we live in a ninja live, even for one as peaceful as Konoha, that vision may never be possible. There always will be conflicts, and we'll always have to defend for our village. We have enough shinobi who fight for our village. Why can't you take a break and do what you promise? The Hokage himself personally asked me to take this mission because I'm the only one who can possibly accomplish it. After I finish this, I'll be free for retirement. Don't act like this is nothing. This is an A-class mission with a risk of death. How can you be so sure you can finish this in one piece? Honey, you worry too much. I've done A-class missions like this all the time and had no problems before. There's a first time for everything you know. I'll be fine, don't worry. Expect me back by next week at best. Right, Tama. Rough. Please come back safe. I will, soon. That same dream again. Kiba found himself waking from that recurring dream and in a hospital room. His body was assorted in casts. He wore a neck brace, a tied-up ice pack on his head, casts on his right arm and right leg, and his right chest was covered in body wrap. He almost forgot that it was Naruto's raccoon dog that did this to him. Damn it, beaten by the dead last smut. I must be the laughingstock of the academy. He bashed his left hand onto the nightstand next to his bed, only to scream in pain that it was still injured. Soon after, knocking was heard at the door. Kiba didn't expect he would get visitors, but thought it would be his gang. Come on in. The door is open, I guess. The door opened, and it wasn't his gang. Came back to rub it in, huh? He glared at the blonde, whose dog was still leaning over on his shoulder. I'm surprised they let pets in the hospital. They take care of pets here, so what's keeping them from being here? Said Naruto. Kiba huffed. If Naruto was going to gloat, he would rather have him get it out of his system and take it like a man. Whatever. Get it over with. I'm sorry. Kiba's eyes widened and stared at Naruto like he'd grown an extra head. What? I said I was sorry. Said Naruto. I'm sorry that Arashi hurt you, and he's sorry too. Right. The Riolu whined, nodding. Kiba stared at them for a while, and just when Naruto was looking hopeful, he laughed. You actually expect me to believe you came here to say sorry for beating me up? Are you going to accept my apology? Naruto asked. Of course not. Kiba yelled. I'm not going to act like none of this ever happened because of an apology. One from a dead last, no less. I still have my pride to keep. Naruto glared back at Kiba, trying his hard to be nice about this, but if this was how the dog boy would act to him, well forget it. It wasn't worth it. He was on his way of walking out when Ino walked up to Kiba and glared at him. I didn't waste my free time to get this over with for you to act like a sore loser. She chided. Nobody wanted you to come anyway, girl. He shot back, getting mad. Without warning, Ino walked over to Kiba's injured leg and promptly sat on it. Kiba's eyes immediately bulged out of their sockets, feeling the rush of Ino's lower weight. Aye. Oh god. Oh god. The pain. The unhealed pain. Get your big ass off my arm wamu guad. Say it. Ino yelled as she sat down harder. Aye. Son of a alright. Alright. I'm sorry I acted like a jerk. I accept. You hear me? Acceptance. Acceptance. Satisfied, Ino got up from her position and Kiba felt weightless relief but was whimpering feeling that the wound might have opened more. Ino left the room smiling as Naruto and Arashi stared between the two wide-eyed. You okay? Naruto asked finally. Just leave I'm done with pain for today, Kiba wheezed and Naruto left. Shortly after Naruto and Arashi said goodnight to Ino, the two of them left to take a little tour of the village. Starting with the ramen stand Ichiraku. Boy, old man. A bowl of miso stew please. Humming right you that was as much as Ichiraku Tuchi could say before noticed Arashi sitting next to his favorite customer. He reacted quite surprised, which wasn't new to the two, but then he asked, who's your friend? Naruto smiled. He knew he could trust the ramen chef. His name's Arashi. I found him yesterday. Arashi, huh? The chef's daughter, AM, called over from the kitchen. That's a nice name. Is he your new pet? Oh well, I never really bought him. I found him. Naruto explained. From what? An egg. Both ramen chefs glanced at him with the expression that he had grown another head. The yellow raccoon dog came from an egg. I know that chickens and lizards are born from eggs, but… I'm serious. Naruto interrupted the elder chef. I found his egg by that old Inyazuka hermit's trash and… AM gasped. You stole from someone else's lawn. That is so unlike you, Naruto-kun. Tucci laughed. Well, you know what they say. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Especially if it's from someone like Altakio, right? Yeah. Naruto nodded. Right. Arashi chorused. They then exchanged glances, surprised that Tucci would know who he was talking about. Glancing back to the head chief, he smiled and winked. Well, I guess that's one mystery solved. The four of them were so involved in their conversation that they didn't notice another customer walk in. He looked much like a beggar, with mostly an oversized cloth covering a majority of his body. His face was also disguised under the top, but it was still visible and recognizable. Ajusan. H. Hokage-sama. SHHH. Sandaime waved his arms a bit, looking around worried. I'm not really here. I can't be seen out here. Then why are you here? And why do you look like a beggar? Naruto asked, at which the Hokage smiled. If I came out in the open, Anbu officers would be following me all over the village. I rather not of them worried and enjoy a break once in a while. So, what will you have? The head chef asked. Oh, one with veggies would do. On it? AM called from the back. The third sat by Naruto, where he took a good look of Arashi. It indeed looked similar to a Riolu in every way, save for its different fur color. He had before that some Pokemon had sometimes had a brighter set of alternative colors, which was a very rare occurrence. Possible, but rare. The chances of Naruto to find a yellow Riolu egg, let alone any egg, are so high. Even more so that he found it before the rest of us. Then again, he said he found it by Takio's trash and nobody has ever looked around his lawn before being threatened. Not even the Anbu are insane enough to stay long enough to deal with Inju-chan. So, Ajusan, Naruto asked, breaking Saratobi's train of thought. Are you out here because of all the paperwork? Hardly, he said. I've heard that you've made a new friend and that one of your students is hospitalized because of it. Naruto gulped and even Arashi looked worried. Naruto hoped that news wouldn't get to the Hokage, but deep down, he knew one way or another it would. Really, now? Tucci raised an eyebrow. I'm really sorry, Ajusan. Naruto pleaded. I didn't mean Kiba to get beaten up that bad, but he kinda deserved it. Naruto-kun. AM scolded from behind the counter. This was all so unlike him. He made fun of Arashi. There was a brief silence Naruto's outburst until he said, I'm not going to let someone live the same treatment I put up with. All three of the listeners understood wholeheartedly Naruto's answer. It wasn't easy for Naruto growing up in a village that faced some tough times. With the losses from the last Great War, the Kyuubi attack, and just recently, the Uchiha massacre, the villagers would sometimes lend their outward anger and teasing towards him, seeing that in a way, he represented the tragedy of many lives. So little positive reassurance and help from others wasn't much, and if they weren't going through money problems, Tucci and AM would have adopted Naruto right away. Sarutobi smiled slightly. He must think of Arashi as him when growing up. Well, I suppose no serious damage is done, and Kiba should be fine in a week or so. Just be sure not to have Arashi retaliate so much so often. He said. Right. Naruto grinned. Ryolu. Arashi chorused. Sarutobi chuckled. The Ryolu was just as enthusiastic as his owner. Which reminds him. Naruto, Arashi is your pet, right? Sarutobi asked. Naruto gave him a questioning look. Isn't he a Pokemon? Sandaime raised an eyebrow. He didn't expect Naruto to be familiar with the term. Where did you learn that out? Naruto leaned down from his stool and picked up an old textbook he was given at school. I've read here in this book. I got it from the teachers when passing out the regular textbooks. Sandaime took a long look at the book Naruto handed to him. His first thought was that it wasn't the right standard that students were given and made a note to talk about this to the school staff later. Then he recognized the eerie design and was dumbstruck. This book? You know about it? Naruto asked. Indeed. Sarutobi nodded as he examined it closely. This was written a long time ago, back around the time when Konoha was founded by the first two Hokages. Pokemon were close cousins to other creatures in the world, such as the regular dogs and birds, only with heart and sense of instinct in battle. They were very common around the village forest, as well as all over the world. The origin of this book, which explains nearly everything known about Pokemon, was long lost. The Hokages before me said they bought this from a traveling merchant who wrote it himself. This was assumed to be destroyed during the Kyuubi attack nearly 10 years ago. Wow, said Naruto. He knew it was a rare book and all, but he didn't expect that much. He barely noticed the third handing him back the book. Take it. You'll probably have more use for it than I will. Naruto accepted it, but quickly scowled with a scrunched up face. You mean I have to read the whole thing? Sarutobi couldn't help but to chuckle. Anyway, as I was saying before, Arashi is yours, correct? Naruto exchanged glances with the Ryoli next to him for a while, before turning to the elder Hokage. Can I? Why, of course, Sarutobi smiled. I'll make the arrangements later tonight and you'll be Arashi's new owner. Yai. Rii. Both of them cheered and hugged one another and the moment quickly passed as AM brought them their food. Itadakimasu. The two human customers said as they started to eat the freshly cooked ramen until Naruto noticed something different. Arashi. You're eating ramen too. Indeed, the little yellow raccoon dog was merrily eating from a third bowl of ramen. But they only ordered two. I thought the little guy would be hungry if he was left out, AM explained. So I made him another on the house. But Arashi hates ramen. Almost as soon as Naruto said those words, Arashi's face scrunched up, eyes wide, obviously the same reaction from yesterday when he tried Naruto's instant ramen. He then turned and spat the broth and noodles out to his left towards Naruto, but he caught on quick and ducked at the last minute. However, the Hokage couldn't predict a quick turn of events and was much less fortunate. And the scream of the Sandaime Hokage was heard all over the village, confusing all as to what just happened. Hey, it's okay Arashi. We all make mistakes. Naruto and Arashi left the scene shortly after apologizing to Sarutobi, whose face was quite stained with hot broth, noodles and vegetables from Arashi's bowl. AM was very embarrassed and pleaded the Hokage would forgive herself for such an accident, and he accepted. What made the scene more ridiculous was him being seen taken away by the Anbu who heard his scream and were edgy about who made his face red. Sarutobi lied and said he accidentally spilled hot water on himself, much to Naruto and AM's relief. Shortly after making a few blocks to their next destination, Naruto started to feel a weird presence around. It was like a few weeks after being in the academy. It was like someone was stalking him yet he can never find out who. Whenever he tried calling out, chazzing, or even trying to corner out the guy, he would just run off. It still bothered him why he didn't know who was stalking him to this day. It could be Sasuke, since he always likes to be the center of attention and is the only one better than him at stealth. Sure, he may be a little dense and not wearing the suitable clothing for sneaking, but he still was able to outwit experienced Jounin time and time again with hit and run pranks. That is, until he was caught later on. Arashi seemed aware of the stalker too, since he was sniffing a lot behind them. Naruto had to know who this stalker was, and with Arashi's help, he might just do it. They made a turn at the next corner, where Naruto dropped Arashi at a nearby stoop and continued walking. The Ryolu climbed up the roof and waited for the stalker. 10 steps Naruto took. Now 15, 20. Finally, the stalker came around the corner and Arashi sprang at the target. He could hear an eep as the stalker tried to defend himself, but the raccoon dog was quick. He landed on his back and started to pull on his blue hair, noting how the person was screaming. Naruto smirked as he walked triumphantly at the poor stalker's suspense. Ha! You may think you can outrun or hide from me, but you can't. I'm going to be the next Hokage someday, and I'm not going to take shit from anyone. Not even you. Naruto soon got a closer look at his stalker, and it wasn't what he expected. For one, he was a she. She had wide eyes with no pupils, so she was either blind or, most likely, a Hyuga. His eyes widened with realization of the quietest girl in the academy. Hinata. He was intentionally going to say Sasuke, but he was so surprised by her identity as his stalker that he forgot all about his pride in thinking he finally revealed Sasuke for the stalker that he is. Even Arashi stopped harassing her when he noticed how awkward the scene was and leaped onto Naruto's shoulder. A nice evening, isn't it? Naruto tried to open small talk with her. Why yes, she said, in her small, meek and shy voice. She was starting to feel very red that Naruto found out she was following him and just wanted to disappear. So are you following us? I'm really sorry. ISH should be going now. Hinata was turning to run off but stopped when Naruto grabbed her arm. She was starting to feel very lightheaded being so close to Naruto, whom she admired for so long. I didn't mean it like that, said Naruto. I'm just saying you're very good at it. I've never seen you that sneaky back at the academy. That's mostly because why you never notice me much. Hinata mumbled. Naruto did admit she was always appearing when he would least expect her. Guess that proves the whole stalking theory. Well, you're great at it. Naruto grinned. Hinata stared at him wide-eyed. Saint St stalking. Hinata nearly choked saying the word. When is stalking ever a good thing? It creeps some people out knowing they're being followed by someone they rarely know, and this is no different. Naruto smiled. Yeah. I couldn't tell that you were doing it, so you must be really good to fool me. I almost thought you were Sasuke. True, he was one of the least stealth-oriented ninja around, but neither of the two wanted to admit it out loud. The fact that she could be compared to Sasuke, well, she couldn't tell really whether to feel pleased to be thought as good or down to be reminded she wasn't as strong. But were you following me anyway? Hinata's eyes widened as she tried to hide a red face. It was just too embarrassing to actually tell him he was following him for the past decade. She always admired him, but only at a distance. Not openly like Sasuke's fangirls and how they always ask him on dates. They were proud and confident, she was humble and quiet. Of course, this may refer to only tonight and she was trying to convince herself to come up and talk to him. Who wanted Tomoxereto make sure you feeling alright? Naruto exchanged confused glances with Arashi before looking at Hinata again. What do you mean? Hinata clasped her hands together and held them close to her body. Well, you and Arashi-chan looked very sad and I know it wasn't your fault to begin with. I wanted to remind you that you weren't at fault. And I'm sure that Kiba didn't mean what he said earlier. Naruto was very surprised. He didn't expect anyone to just come up and comfort him through this whole thing, especially not Hinata. She was the last person he'd expect to do something for him since she always looked the other way and looked like she was having some fever. He always wondered if she was allergic to him or something, but also wondered why she still tried to get near him if it made her nervous. Still, it relieved him greatly to hear that. First Ino in some odd way and now Hinata have come into good terms with him. Perhaps Arashi was like some good luck charm. Thanks Hinata, I really appreciate it. Hinata, too, felt a lot of relief for telling him that. She was happy to know that for a moment, just one moment, she could help him feel better about himself. Why you're welcome. She bowed quickly and was just about ready to leave when Naruto said something. Oh, and make sure you keep practicing that stalking thing. You might make a great kunoichi someday. Hinata's heart skipped a beat. It wasn't so much as he implied it as stalking, but something entirely different. Naruto, the boy she idolized, for always looking on the brighter side of things when they seemed their darkest, was praising her and said she would make a great kunoichi. She never had such high praise before. Not even from her own family. Naruto, meanwhile, was noticing how quieter Hinata had gotten. All she was doing was just staring at the ground. He was a little worried if she passed out or fell asleep standing or whatever. She had a habit to do weird things around him. Hinata. Are you okay? You look spaced out. Before he knew what happened, she suddenly launched herself towards him and wrapped her arms around him. Thank you, Naruto-kun. It took several moments before Hinata realized what exactly she was doing and quickly broke their short embrace, feeling more embarrassed than earlier. Sorry. Gee, good night. She quickly bowed and ran for her home, leaving a confused, dumbstruck Naruto and his equally confused Ryolu. He didn't move at all during and after the hug, trying to process what happened. "Arashi?" he asked after several minutes, not even turning to his little raccoon dog. "What the hell just happened?" "Ryolu?" Arashi shrugged, which could loosely translate into "I don't know." "Ah, whatever, it's probably a girl thing." He also shrugged, though he was quite disappointed it wasn't Sakura hugging him. Then again, Hinata's hug wasn't entirely bad either. "Anyway Arashi, I want to show you the most awesome thing this village has to offer." "Ryo?" "Here we are." After a long mountain hike, which night has since long passed during their trip, the two found themselves atop the Yondame's head on the Hokage's mountain. It is an historical landmark that has the faces of all the Hokages carved onto it to forever remember the accomplishments and achievements they've made for the village. "This is one of my favorite hangouts to go to," Naruto explained. "The view's pretty awesome, isn't it?" "Reelo." Arashi cheered looking at the village in awe. It was an amazing sight. The sky may be pitch black, but the village still looked amazing after hours, with vague lights glowing all over the place, shining in even the far corners of the village. It's bright enough to see every outline of Konoha, but not bright enough to make it hard to see the stars high above. Truly a sight to behold. Naruto smiled. It's moments like this that make me think how amazing this village is. He sat down next to the Ryolu who continued to stare at the village. Everyone remembers who the Hokages are, even when they aren't around for the first few. I don't want to be forgotten like someone who doesn't matter. I want to be known as someone who does matter, someone who's strong and appreciated in this village. Arashi glanced up at Naruto, noticing how solemn he looked staring at the village. He sounds so determined. "I know that someday, I'm going to be Hokage too," he continued. "Maybe not the 5th or the 6th or even the 7th, but I will be Hokage someday. I don't care what anyone else says, because even if they were Hokages, they all started as nothing. I know I can make myself something worth remembering too." Filled with enthusiasm, he stood up and held out a fist. "I'll be Hokage of this village someday." Arashi stood up as well and raised his paw up. Ryoru. He would make sure his master would make it to the top. Chapter 4. Life of a Parent. "Ino. Hurry up or we're going to be late." I know. Geez, give a girl more time to prepare, okay?" Before he met Arashi, Uzumaki Naruto's schedule was a simple one. Wake up for breakfast, go to the academy, train, eat at Ichiraku's, go to bed. Usually on weekends, the time for the academy would just be used for more time to train. Ever since he met Arashi almost a year ago, Naruto's schedule was far from simple. Every morning he would make breakfast for him and the baby Ryolu, making sure he gets something sweet and anything not dry or his ramen. The bottle thing was also a must. He would then head towards Izami's place first and drop him off to help with the berries while he was away. By the end of the school time, he would catch a quick meal at Ichiraku's, then go back to Izami's. Or vice versa, now that the ramen stand serves fruit and veggie salads, more so for Arashi than other customers, but it's a new menu item. Naruto decided to keep Arashi with the old Yamanaka because, in all honesty, he didn't know who else to trust. She was the first person who seemed perfectly okay with Arashi and didn't act all hostile to him either. It was odd to finally find someone who accepted him, but it felt good nonetheless. He, somehow, also made a good friend in Ino. Sure, they both had their arguments and times when they tried to overcome one another and she was still a Sasuke fangirl, but they still enjoy the time they spend whenever they walk to the academy, talking of whatever comes to mind. "Ready?" she said, just rushing out the door of her shop. Naruto, waiting in front, groaned and started walking. "Took you long enough. I didn't want to get late because you had to iron your hair." "Hey. You try growing long, beautiful hair and see just how hard it is to get it washed, combed, and in a ponytail." The blonde boy scrunched his face in disgust. "If it takes so long with that much hair, why don't you just cut it? I mean, it's longer than most girls." "Hell, people, I know." Ino huffed. "As if. Sasuke-kun likes girls with long hair and the longer it is, the better. And yet he still ignores you." Naruto mumbled, but it didn't go unheard of as Ino clunked him on the cranium, wincing in pain. His relationship with Ino wasn't exactly the same as Sakura's. He used to be swayed by Sakura's cute face and pink hair and wanted to be friends with her. He quickly got the idea that if Sakura and every other girl his age would always ask Sasuke on dates, he should try the same thing for her. Needless to say, she was just as rude to him as Sasuke was to her. He still holds a little crush on her, but has been distant with her since being a legal guardian to Arashi took up a lot of his free time. Ino was different. When she wasn't talking to Sasuke or trying to ask him out on a date, she was normally helping out at her grandmother's orchard and giving Naruto gardening tips. He would never say it in front of her, but she had become a close friend to him and he'd grown a sort of hobby to gardening, starting to water plants and planting seeds instead of berries. Well, looks like the two blonde birds are here as usual. Came the smug comment from up ahead. Inuzuka Kiba was seen smirking at them, with Akamaru on top his head. This rather bland insult didn't affect Naruto or Ino in the slightest. The former asked what loomed both their minds. Blonde birds. Is that the best you can come up with? The feral kid shrugged but didn't falter in the smirk. Of course not. I don't have time to give you better insults. Nor do you have the time to bother us. Now get, doggy. Kiba, now fully recovered, became somewhat of a rival to Naruto. He said their last match, which had him hospitalized courtesy of Arashi, was nothing but a fluke and wanted to prove he was better than him. This surprised all the students. It was Arashi that beat him up, so shouldn't he be more ticked off at the dope's pet than the dope himself? As if to prove that fact, Kiba stared at Naruto, who hadn't moved since Kiba arrived. Okay, Naruto, how's about we have ourselves a little spar before the academy starts? He said as he started cracking his knuckles. Naruto sighed. I already told you, Kiba. I neither have the time nor interest to fight you again. You got beaten by a Ryolu. A baby one no less. Not me. But you were his owner. The alpha male. So that means I have the right to fight you as much as your pup. Too bad I don't care. Besides, the academy starts in a few minutes. We can settle this some other time. With that said, he started to walk to Ino, who was patiently waiting. Kiba scowled. Hypocrite. Naruto stopped dead in his tracks. He hesitatively turned to Kiba and said, what? You ask the same thing out of Sasuke and yet you turn down the same offer when given to you? That's basically going against what you've been trying to out of that guy for years. Don't listen to him, Naruto, Ino warned. She was having a bad feeling about this. But deep down, Naruto felt that what Kiba said was true. He wanted acknowledgement all his life from the kid everyone loves and or idolizes. Uchiha Sasuke. Perfect grades, perfect fighting style, and, to the female's opinion, perfect looks. He thought if he could surpass him in some way, he too would be idolized. Which is why he constantly tried hard in the academy since he showed up and challenged him to a match. Now Kiba, someone who was on the same boat, wants to challenge him like he would to Sasuke when he would just go along with Naruto's demands just to make him feel better before beating him up like just before his run-in with Arashi's paw. In a way, this was an improvement. Besides, he just insulted him turning down a match. He couldn't live that down. Well, maybe. It was just Kiba anyway. Whatever, said Kiba, with still no change in emotion. It's not like this kid's got guts anyway. Okay, there is no way he could live this down. The hell, I'll run away, dog brain. Naruto screeched as he jumped towards Kiba and held out his fist, trembling with righteous fury. Kiba actually looked surprised by his sudden attack, but he knew he had that coming, so with a smirk of victory, he quickly retaliated and the two of them were seen scuffling on the road, surrounded by dirt and debris. Ino's sweat dropped. This is the third time this month those two fought like this basically. Kiba had been using the hypocrite speech to get Naruto mad enough to fight back. If there's anything he hates more than being rejected by Sakura, it's being compared to Sasuke in a negative way. Naruto. She called out, trying to reason with him. What about the academy? We're going to be late. Go on without me. It's going to be a while before I make this jerk taste his dog's poop. Hey. But you're already tardy 5 times this year. Haruka-sensei said you'd be severely punished if you're tardy again. Like I care. I'll still be a graduate. Not when I'm through with you, dead last. You're going to stay dead last if you keep picking stupid fights with Kiba and Sasuke-kun. Why did you even agree to this stupid fight when we have to get to class right now? It's all about pride, Ino. Pride is more important than being prompt. Amen to that. Ino sighed and glanced away from the two of them fighting. It was obvious that the other blonde only cared about showing off to his opponents rather than be discreet like a real ninja. She could just get on ahead, but Naruto, although slow and loud, was still, in a sense, her friend and she didn't want to see him upset when he failed. It was likely that he'll fail again, like the last 2 times, and be held back for another year. Or worse, lose the privilege of being a ninja. So, she decided to wait until the two of them were tired and or distracted before beating them up and dragging them to the academy. Of course, she wasn't very good in patience. Just then, the punching and kicking halted and 2 bodies collapsed on the ground. Ino turned to see Hinata, her usual timid self, standing over the 2 knocked out boys. She looked over them, ashamed of herself. Kenny didn't know what else. It's okay. Ino smiled as she lifted the leap once known as Naruto over her shoulder. At least sealing their chakra points will stop them fighting for a little while. The Hyuga's clan style of fighting, Jaiken, was made to aim and damage their foe's chakra circulatory system. Everyone had pressure points which exhibit use of chakra, and hitting these points would stop the flow to the area. It merely took a simple tap at the spinal cord to have them collapse. Naruto and Kiba wouldn't die, but they'll be feeling a lot of back pain when they would wake up. That was pretty good back there too. Ino continued, walking to the academy with Hinata on toll. Only one hit each. If you try hard enough, you might promote way past Genin in no time. I don't know. Hinata said while carefully carrying Kiba bridal style. My family doesn't have many expectations for me, especially my cousin. Yeah, I heard, your family is a bunch of stuck-ups who aren't impressed with you, but that doesn't stop Naruto in giving the benefit of the doubt, now does it? I guess so, Hinata nodded. After the little heart-to-heart the night of the Kiba incident, Naruto decided to bring Hinata to the orchard with him as a show of gratitude of the other day. When Ino found out about this, she was extremely peeved, though she didn't punish Naruto too much because Hinata was normally quiet and agreed wholeheartedly not to speak to anyone else. Still, Naruto was forced to eat leftover pinab berries against his will as Ino chunked them down his throat. The sour skin and spicy juice inside exploded in his taste buds, which was adopted with a comically ridiculous crunched-up face even Hinata found hilarious. It was sort of a rocky start of a good friendship they all had. Even Kiba, who found his way into the orchard and quickly demanded a rematch with Naruto. He was instead given a mouthful of pinab berries and threatened by Ino not to tell about this place. Kiba reluctantly agreed. Still, Hinata was glad to know that she was now part of Naruto's circle of friends and the time they come to grow closer over the past few months. "Come in," said Sarutobi, hearing the door knocking. It opened to reveal the short Inuzuka hermit, Takeo. He walked up to the desk but only reached it by forehead, so he settled with climbing onto the stool in front of the desk. "What do you want, Hokage?" He grunted, more mad than embarrassed he had to sit just to look at the Hokage's face. Partly the reason why he was an irritable man was because people make fun of his height until they feared the man for chasing them with his dog Inju-chan. They then called him crazy, but to themselves of course. "I've heard that you recently chose an academy student to do your exercise." The Hokage started. It was no rumor that Takeo liked to chase around any athletic-looking civilian or shinobi just to get his dog a good running. Of course, he started to quiet down around the village, only chasing someone once in a blue moon. Takeo doesn't usually mean any bad malice to anyone he chases. He just likes to scare people for the sport of it. "Yeah, I chased a punk only because he went through my stuff and took my egg. I heard that he had found it in the trash. Did you throw away that egg by any chance?" "No. I hid it there of course. What better way to hide something than at the place where people don't want their stuff? Right under their smelly noses. They never suspected a thing." The Sandaime felt sweat trickling down the back of his head. Takeo was very paranoid, but he didn't honestly expect that he'd go to such lengths of keeping his stuff safe in the trash can. He was surprised the egg lasted as long as it did before hatching. "Well, I thought I would like to let you know what the egg hatched and. That brat took my egg and hatched it. That ingrate. I was saving that for a special occasion." "I'm sorry to hear that, Takeo, but it's in Naruto's hands now. The egg hatched into a Ryoru and." "Did you just say Naruto?" Takeo interrupted, casting a serious gaze on the Hokage. The Sandaime had a feeling that Takeo hated the boy as much as the villagers did, but it was hard to tell since he seemed to hate everyone. If he had a weakness, it was his inability to trust others. "Yes, I did. A golden one at that. And he thinks that Naruto is his parent. I wanted to let you know before I approve Naruto as his legal guardian." Takeo stared at the Hokage for a long while before eventually breaking out and sighing. "Go ahead. Not my problem anymore." Sarutobi was surprised. Takeo was never one to give up so quickly. "Are you sure? The pup thinks that the brat is his parent, right? Even I know that taking him now would only cause trouble. For both of them. I was planning on saving that little creature when the time was right, but it turns out it can't be helped now." The Hokage nodded, in content with the Inuzuka's answer. "I just have several questions to ask. What exactly were you saving the egg for? And how did you get it in the first place?" Takeo scowled. "Respectively. It's not important now, and it was a gift." "From who?" the Sandaime asked. Takeo shrugged. "You're the Hokage. You figure it out." Sarutobi vividly remembered that talk with Takeo a few months ago. He took upon his offer to figure it out on his own and had spent the last few days researching. Before the Kyuubi incident, Pokemon were valuable partners for many shinobi and civilians in the village. Some clans even specialized with several Pokemon, like the Haruno clan with the Medicham family, who were strong in both body and spirit. Of course, the aftermath of the fight had caused a causality of Pokemon greater than the humans. Furthermore, any Pokemon that normally lived in the forest seemed to have disappeared, with no trace of them whatsoever. He felt it best to not mention this tragedy to anyone of the younger generation. Both the Kyuubi sealing and the possible extinction of Pokemon. Of course, now everything has changed now that Naruto had found Arashi, a Riolu. It wouldn't have been as surprising if he found another Pokemon like a Bulbasaur or a Pidgey or even a Pikachu. But a Riolu wasn't common. He only knew of one person to have a relative of the Lucario family line. That was the last Hokage who surpassed him. Namikaze Minato. He and his Lucario Kougai-1 were an unstoppable pair, holding a deep sense of trust with each other and untapped potential, which led them to winning the last great shinobi war with Iwa. When Minato gave his life to seal the Kyuubi, Kougai stood by him and helped stall the beast, royal to the end. The Lucario died serving his master's suicide wish, ashes and all. Kougai was the first and last Lucario seen in the village, raised by the fourth himself when just a little Riolu. He remembered how Minato struggled to train under Jiraiya and that the little Ryoru would try to cheer him up and train with him in his chakra exercises. Minato eventually created his own jutsu with the help and inspiration of Kougai. That got Sarutobi thinking. Was it possible that Arashi was Kougai's child? It was very likely, but at the same not very convincing. He didn't recall the Lucario having any mates. Then again, the fourth was also secretive about his love life and he didn't learn about his wife until after the Kyuubi attack. It was still possible. Okay, that's enough for today. Class dismissed. Naruto wasted no time in bolting out his desk and running for the door. Gotta see Arashi, gotta see Arashi. He didn't get that chance as Iruka caught him by the jacket and held him up in midair. Naruto continued to run, but instead merely made loud friction noise across the flow. It was similar to how Azami caught Naruto when they first met. Sorry Naruto, but you're coming with me. What? Why? I'm supervising you to clean up the mess you made. Everyone's not happy with your prank last night. Naruto scowled. How would you know if I did it? Iruka gave him a deadpan look. You're the kind of person who would pull this kind of prank and everyone knows that. Yeah, well, you still can't prove I painted those Hokage heads. Naruto quickly covered his mouth on impulse, realizing the stupid mistake he made. Iruka never implied what prank he did and was waiting for him to say it to prove his point. He could hear the majority of the class laughing at him. Let's go. Iruka left the classroom door, with Naruto still in his immobile state. It was an embarrassing sight for the whole village. Graffiti was all over the Hokage monument. The Shodai Hokage's right eye was surrounded by a black circle, and the left eye was crossed off with a black X, had a red zigzag line under both eyes, and had a pink tongue drawn outside the statue's lips. The Nidaime statue had a bunch of ridiculous drawings all over it, like little sharks or bees floating around, as well a big flower on the cheek. They were all pretty small, but very numerous to make it look like little dots and lines over the face. The Sandaime's face had white paint streaming down his eyes, nose, and ears, ruining the face of the current Hokage like he was bleeding and crying. Then there was the Yondaime. May I ask why you wrote so many random words on the Yondaime statue? Said Iruka, staring at the countless sketchy words etched on the head. Like never give up or I'm Tebester Uadam forever. They were all poorly spelled and it really questioned Naruto's spelling prowess. Don't ask. It was Arashi who wrote all that. Said Naruto, trying to clean off more of the graffiti from the Nidaime side after finishing the Shodai, which was a lot of work. Arashi? You're telling me you forced your Riolu to do all this? No. I helped too. He just did the Nidaime and Yondaime. He seemed real happy doing it. Iruka sighed. There's nothing fun in defiling the village like this, Naruto. You're just saying that because you didn't have the guts to do it yourself, Iruka-sensei. Say that all you want, but you're not leaving until this entire monument is spotless. Naruto paused mid-swipe, eyes widening. What? But Arashi's waiting for me. Then I suggest you pick up the pace and clean up. Naruto moaned, this wasn't fair at the slightest. Normally, the downfall of his pranks was that they don't affect anyone but himself, but now Arashi was a part of this and was waiting patiently for him. Oh well, at least he wasn't suffering on his account. It was going to take forever to clean the mess a boy and a raccoon dog made. Frankly, I'm surprised he even knew some letter and pictures, even if they weren't accurate. I gave him some picture books and tried to teach him speak words besides his usual Riolu. I didn't think he actually remembers some of them. Satisfied with the answer, Iruka said nothing and continued to watch Naruto clean up. He was just finishing up the Nidaime face when he saw the last little doodle his Riolu made. It looked like himself, cheering and wearing a big coat and a crown. Next to it were some poorly written letters spelling Naruto Wojage. Naruto smiled. Sure, Arashi may not be a very good speller or writer, but he had the heart to make up for it. Naruto always did pranks to try and get himself noticed, if not recognized for how well he did them. It was hard when people just thought of him as an annoying prank-making brat and nothing more, but Arashi thinks of him more than that. He truly, genuinely believes he could reach his dream, and that was really saying something. He slightly hesitated in scrubbing off the drawing, but remembered he had to clean everything off just to leave. He was about to, but heard a loud boom. "Okay Naruto, that's enough. Let's head back." But, Iruka-sensei, you said I had to stay here until the mountain was spotless. No point in working when it's late. Besides, the rain can wash up whatever you haven't finished here. As if on cue, the rain started to pour, several drops pelting down on the men on the picture. The Naruto doodle was smeared with rain as several droplets started to wash it off. Naruto frowned a little. If only he could hold on to that picture and not have it ruined. Let's head for the ramen stand. My treat. Normally, Naruto would agree to a free dinner, but he had to hurry up and go pick up Arashi. He was probably out in the rain under a berry tree waiting for him or something. Thanks, Iruka-sensei, but I really got to go and visit Arashi. Maybe some other time. Without another word, he leaped out the mountains and hurriedly dashed for the Yamanaka orchard. Iruka sighed to himself before smiling. I guess I owe Arashi one. I actually get to keep my paycheck this time. When Naruto arrived at the orchard, it was empty. Some berries were picked early and others were planted fresh to receive rain. After endlessly searching the area, he tried for Ino's shop where he was greeted by a familiar face. Rii. The Ryoru happily squealed as he leaped to his master in a fierce bear hug. From the look in his eyes, he was crying, not just the rain. I'm sorry Arashi. He said, stroking his ears a bit. I didn't want to be gone for so long either. Then don't next time. An irritable voice screeched. Naruto looked up from his crying Ryoru to see Ino impatiently tapping her foot from a counter of bright flowers. She looked soaked and peeved. He was bawling his eyes out for an hour straight. It was enough to water all the berries in the orchard. Now, Ino-chan, her grandmother said while watering some flower pots. You can't expect a young cute little baby like Arashi to not miss his caretaker, now would you? The way he beat Kiba the other day is anything but young and cute. He's 8 months old. What did you expect? Naruto shouted, starting to get irritated about Ino's ranting. I expected him to be potty trained by now. He once used his own urine to water the plants and ruined them. Berries are hard to come by you know. I told you he was sorry about that. Let it go. It was like 3 weeks ago. Hinata, meanwhile, was standing by a heater trying to keep warm but couldn't help to overhear the loud argument taking place. Naruto-kun, Ino-chan. Please stop fighting. Why? She started it. The blonde boy yelled. And you were at fault for being a bad caretaker. Ino chided. Arashi says I'm doing a great job. Ino glared at him skeptically. And just how do you know that? I just know. Right Arashi? Lou? Well, I think I'll just be going now. Thanks again for watching over Arashi for me, Abasan. Azami smiled at the boy. Anytime lad. Oh, but before I forget. I got something for you. All the young academy students blinked as the elder Yamanaka left for the back room. Ino was confused, Hinata was surprised, and Naruto felt a mix of both. Naruto never really got any gifts often. They were usually from Sarutobi and most recently the Ichiraku family. What could Azami possibly have to give him? When Azami came back, she held a cardboard box and handed it to him. It's a gift from some anonymous stranger. All it said was he or she wanted you to have it. Feeling more curious of what it was, Naruto hurriedly opened it and pulled out its contents. In his hands were a pile of dark blue clothing. Shirt, pants, belt, gloves, and pair of sandals. Despite the mask, it was enough to be a part of a shinobi shizoku, too, although there was straight line of orange paint through them all, like it was painted there when all of them were aligned. Separate, however, it looked like different slashes of orange arranged over the uniform. Why is it painted orange? Ino asked, with a hint of disgust. Arashi whined. Arashi-chan here was playing with a paintbrush earlier, Azami explained. And accidentally got it on the clothes. I'm not sure if it will come off or not, but it was such a nice design. I didn't want to ruin it without your consent. Naruto was oddly silent staring at the clothing, starting to tremble as if upset. This is. The girls had a feeling that Naruto was going to cry or scream, so they were about ready to give him comfort until they heard the rest of his sentence. Perfect. Ino fell down from the sheer idiocy of the pause and reaction, while Hinata was stumped and Arashi suddenly perked up as if he was praised instead of given the death penalty. You're right, Abasan, this is a great design. The orange line makes it unique and unexpected. I couldn't have done a better job myself if I tried. Way to go, Arashi. Railu. Arashi said, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. Ino slapped her forehead. You've got to be kidding me. Even Hinata had to admit it was a little silly, but just settled on a giggle. Without hesitation, Naruto rushed for the bathroom and changed into his new clothing. When he came out, he looked dashing as a ninja. The orange stripes were found diagonal from left to right on the shirt from the center of the back to the center of the front of the shirt, a horizontal line across the kneecaps in the pants, and a dot or two on both gloves. The sandals looked fine and didn't have a trace of orange on them. He looked very proud of his attire. "What do you think? That you look like a bigger idiot than a minute ago." Ino smirked monotonously. Naruto quickly shot the other blonde a death glare. In all honesty, she was merely teasing, and while it did make him look like an idiot, it worked for him. Not for the silly appearance, but rather that it feels just right for him. "It looks great, Naruto-kun." Hinata reassured, feeling the same way. That comment mollifying Naruto considerably, and she blushed when he gave her a small smile. Azami smiled as she nodded, and Arashi did a thumbs up or paw up gesture. Naruto felt in content with this and was willing to thank whoever gave him such a great gift. If he would ever meet that person anyway. Elsewhere, Inuzuka Takeo sat in his rocking chair out on the front porch of his house, the roof protecting him most of the rain. He rocked back and forth in it, enjoying the pelting beauty of nature, while petting his dog Inju-chan curled up and sitting next to him. It was times like this that the hermit could just forget about all his troubles and relax, especially after he had nothing to worry about now. The brat was annoying, true, but he could relate. Both of them were seen with disdain in the other villagers' eyes, even his own clan. He thought he could help Naruto out, if just a little. "You think the brat would like my little present, Inju-chan?" The dog ruffed in agreement. Takeo chuckled before gazing to the clouds. "He'd better. Minato owes me one for this." Time passed, and the village seemed a lot more peaceful than anyone could remember. Nothing out the ordinary happened, but many of the villagers started to feel tense. It's been months since the prank on the Hokage heads and Naruto hasn't made another one since. One of the two jounin walking around the village was especially edgy. "It's too quiet." "It's probably nothing, Izumo," Kitetsu assured. "Nothing? How can you be so calm? He's watching us." "You mean the brat? Look, he hasn't done anything yet, so don't get so worked up about it. The Hokage did say that taking care of the Ryolu would distract Naruto from pranks, and it has." Izumo didn't look convinced. "It's impossible to say for sure. He always has some excuse as to not do something before and proved us wrong time and time again. For crying out loud, this is the kid who went into the Anbu base and painted it orange. The entire Anbu base orange." Kitetsu shook his head. "Look, we just got graduated into Jounin, and I like to spend every minute of this day celebrating without you ruining it with paranoia. Just relax. If he was planning on doing something, he would have done it by now. Or maybe he's preparing for a really big practical joke that will humiliate the entire village forever." "Haven't thought about that," Kitetsu admitted, but only to himself. "I said relax, okay?" They uneventfully made their way to the party store, buying all the essentials for their self-graduation party. They had the day off, so they were planning to make the best of it and drink until they can't anymore. They were just leaving when an orange-blue blur ran past them into the same store. Uzumaki Naruto. In his blue and orange matador costume. Curious, Izumo and Kitetsu walked away behind the store before using Henge to make themselves look 70 years older. They walked in, looking at the party favors when they were really eavesdropping. "Let's see here, streamers, balloons, party hats and napkins, and candles. That's all." "Mostly," said Naruto. "Do you make cakes here?" "Some of the best." "Could I have that too?" "Be sure to pay double, kid." Yeah. As the man walked to the back to receive the cake, the two jounin grouped together and gossiped. "He's up to something, I just know it." "Calm down, Izumo, maybe he's having a party." "The only time the kid ever buys party supplies is for pranks, Kitetsu." "Streamers. He used them to make the Hyuga compound a giant streamer jungle." "Balloons. He filled them up with water and soaked the Akimichi clan with them." "Party hats and napkins. He tweaked them and used them as mufflers for the Inuzuka dogs." "And let's not forget the cake. Filled the mix with chocolate laxatives and gave it to the Hokage as a gift." Enough said. If that's the case, why would he buy all of them at once? Old Izumo's elderly eyes widened, as if coming to realization. "It can be." "What? No, I must be crazy." "What?" Old Kitetsu was starting to feel nervous in what his partner was implying. "All those items he used for his past pranks," old Izumo started. "Yeah? He must plan to get them again." "Yeah? And pull all the same pranks all at once." Old Kitetsu blinked. "You're right. I know. You're crazy." Izumo glared at his deadpan partner and friend in disgust, partly at the fact he would remain so stubborn. "It's possible. Or it could be the fact that he's throwing a party for someone." The old Kitetsu asked in an obvious tone. Old Izumo's expression grew dreadful. "For who?" The other jounin didn't know what to say after that. Who would Naruto throw a party for? Sure, it was evident that he had a few new friends since he found the Ryoru, but their parents would never let him throw a party for. He wouldn't be stupid enough to make himself a fake birthday, unless… What day is it? Old Izumo looked confused. Today. Tuesday, April 20th. April, his birthday wasn't for another 6 months. And any decorations he would get for that would long be forgotten. People usually get those only a month early at most, to stay fresh in the mind. Maybe, as crazy as Izumo's idea was, he was going for the prank of all pranks. But something was oddly familiar with the date. We still shouldn't jump into conclusions. If he was really going to do what you said, he would have to go for it. Izumo gasped. You don't mean? He asked, almost too shocked to whisper. Hitetsu nodded. I do, but, really. He wouldn't not after last year. It was around that time when the man came for the cake Naruto had asked for. It was a simple vanilla cake with white frosting over it. Looked innocent enough. No chocolate as the eye can see. Anything else? The clerk asked. Do you have 10 packs of Pop Rocks? Both the Jounins' mouths dropped wide open, faces paling and almost losing concentration of their hinge. He would. The last time Naruto bought Pop Rocks was possibly his most famous scheme of all. Last year, at the dead of night, he filled every toilet in more than half of the buildings in the village, including the academy, Anbu base, and Hokage's office, with said Pop Rocks. When the villagers went to flush their toilets, it caused the pipes inside to blow holes in the pipes and nearly ruined the pipelines for the whole village. He was well punished, mind you, helping the other ninja repairing the pipes he damaged, and it was also the time when everyone knew of the pranking expertise of Uzumaki Naruto and never underestimated him in that expertise again. Old Kitetsu gulped. 10 packs were more than enough to destroy the village with the other pranks he has in store. He glanced to Izumo, who was equally uneasy. Okay. Now we can jump into conclusions. In truth, Naruto found no fondness in pulling pranks anymore. All that seemed to matter to him was looking after Arashi's well-being. Making sure he was alright, feeding him when needed, giving him milk, which Azami had been doing up until she taught him how to, and training with him. He was a little reluctant at first to let him train with him, but he was always so full of energy and wanted to help him any way he can. Also, he was strong enough to beat down Kiba in a few punches, and he didn't really want to baby him forever, despite Ino and Hinata's constant attempts. He wasn't much of a teacher, so he only taught him some of the poor basics he knew. Running, punching, kicking, jumping, guarding and avoiding. He was a bit faster than he was, but had a frail body, so defending was a bit difficult. At least Arashi got all the basics down, a bit quicker than Naruto even. Of course, he didn't have much time for himself anymore. Before he knew it, the graduation exam was right around the corner. Chapter 5. Graduation. The day is the last day before the exams. Gotta train, gotta train, gotta train, gotta train, that was the sole mantra that ran through Naruto's mind as he continuously practiced on his weakness. The Bunshin Jutsu. No matter how many times he tried, he couldn't even do one of the simplest of genin techniques. It was insane. Bunshin no Jutsu. Plumes of smoke erupted at the command and quickly dispersed where a deadly form of Naruto's scapegoat appeared. ARRG. What gives? Not far from his training spot, the others were either watching or leisurely doing plant work. It was hard not to hear Naruto's screams of frustration. Naruto-kun is having trouble again, Hinata sighed. It was painful to see him struggle so. Ino huffed as she spread the mulch around. You know him. He's too obstinate to actually ask us for help. Hinata shook her head. I don't think that's true. It's probably because he never had anyone to ask. Arashi made a soft whine. It was no secret that he grew up alone and without a family, but the fact that he was sought as a common target for prejudice often left that fact off the kids' minds. Well, what do you expect to happen? Said Kiba. Naruto walking up to us and ask for help. That'll be the day. Guys. Their attention turned over to the blonde boy, not his usual confident self. Can you? Naruto blushed and looked away. What I mean is, do any of you know how to do Bunshin? This was a first, and apparently, according to Kiba, the day. For all they've known Naruto, he was stubborn to a fault and would keep trying to do something until he just gave up and did again later. For him to come up and ask for help of all things surprised them, especially Kiba. Ino glanced to between her friends. The dog boy was wide-eyed and trying to process what he just heard, as he and Sasuke were also the type of guys who preferred solitude when training, and the Hyuga was too startled out of her wits to actually say yes, which Ino could tell was what she really wanted. Compared to the two of them, she was more than willing to help, but for some reason unknown to her, she was hesitant to do so. But why? She didn't want to see him fail again, and he really needed it. That much was true. But she couldn't even bring herself to drop what she was doing and show him the basic Bunshin sign again. Maybe because she thought the other two should do it. The hesitation and silence didn't go unnoticed by Naruto. Feeling that they didn't want to be a part of this, he sighed. I understand, sorry for asking. I'll just keep train. No. The sudden blurt from Ino surprised everyone and an uncomfortable silence was followed soon after. Kiba decided to break that silence with a question that loomed all their minds. What? Ino felt her face turn red. She exhaled, quickly collected her thoughts and tried again. I mean I'll help. Suddenly feeling more confident in herself, she shoved the mulch in Kiba's hands, walked towards Naruto and grabbed his hand. The Ryolu quickly followed them. Keep working, okay? She called over her shoulder. Kiba and Hinata both slumped their heads down, the former being forced to do her chore and the latter upset that she missed the chance to train with Naruto. They both muttered a nearly inaudible okay. Ino dragged the other blonde back to the training area, confused as to why she really wanted to help him. She could have encouraged Hinata or forced Kiba to do it for her, but instead volunteered. This was the annoying brat who strolled into the secret Yamanaka berry orchard for crying out loud. While these thoughts cycled her head, Naruto was just as confused with her actions. Did she really want to help him that bad? Maybe asking for help wasn't as bad as he thought after all. After reaching a fair distance away from the others, she shoved Naruto away. Okay, try again. When he looked confused, she sighed and explained, if I plan to help you, I need to know what exactly you're doing wrong, like hand signs or execution or something. Oh. Okay. With that in mind, Naruto made a cross sign, performing the Bunshin jutsu and failing again. Ino stared at him intently before asking him to try again. Naruto failed again Ino staring during the process. I think I know what the problem is. She said after a while. What? You used too much chakra in execution. She stated as a matter of factly. Naruto tilted his head to the side. Chakra? Arashi tilted his head also. Lurai. Ino slapped her forehead. You're meaning to tell me that you forgot all about chakra? Of course I didn't. Said Naruto. I just slept when Iruka-sensei went over it. The blonde girl sighed. That would explain a lot. Okay, pay attention, because I'm only going to go over this once. Chakra is a blend of spirit energy and body energy into one. The spiritual energy comes from exercises like meditating or other training experiences, and the body energy is made up by billions of cells and the body's endurance. Using one over the other screws up the usage of a jutsu, like Bunshin, so it falls apart. Naruto whistled. You sure are smart, Ino. Ino blushed and fiddled with her hair. Ah, well, it's just common knowledge, and that forehead girl knows about this stuff more than me. Naruto blinked. He only remembered hearing that name vaguely, but from her behavior towards a certain girl and the fact that he knew only one girl with a notable forehead. He knew who she was referring to. Sakura-chan? Yeah. That good-for-nothing poser. After all I did for her, she had the gall to forget me and act on her own. Like she's doing any better without me. Naruto had a feeling that Ino wasn't being fully honest but didn't really have the heart to ask her. She calmed down enough to get back to teaching him. You're fair when it comes to body energy, but you really need to work on the spirit energy. I almost wish that billboard brow was here. Her expression started to darken when reminded of Sakura again. She always liked to brag about her chakra control like it was a natural talent. Naruto grew worried again. Ino. And everyone forgets the fact that she used to be made fun of because of that damn forehead. But who was the one who helped her out of that shell? Me. Yamanaka Ino. Ino. I was her first friend. You'd think she'd actually be more grateful for standing up for her and showing her this place. It was our secret garden. Our paradise. Our own haven. But did she? No. She grew deceitful and vowed to take away my sasu. Ino. All the ranting she did made Naruto forget all about his training problems and more focused on figuring out what the hell was wrong with his friend. The two of them stared at each other in silence before Naruto broke it with some hindsight. Did you ever try to make up? That question baffled her, so settled the awkward laugh, which only made her look ridiculous when neither he nor Arashi were laughing. Why you're kidding, right? I heard as Ami-san once told me that her granddaughter had a fight with a friend once. A silence loomed over them as the wind whistled through the forest. Your friend, it was Sakura-chan, wasn't it? Ino didn't have to answer. The expression on her face did it for her. The tone on her voice was sour to match it. What about it? Well, Naruto said, trying to remember what her grandmother said to him. It's better to live and forget rather than stay mad at the past. It isn't worth it. Says who? Ino snapped. Your grandma, remember? Oh. Naruto didn't take her sudden sadness as a good sign. I mean, don't get me wrong. He said. You're a nice girl. From this, he earned a glare from her. His hesitation was that obvious. But if you keep overreacting like what you just did with Sakura, you might end up alone and depressed in the end. I mean, you should really work on your temp, Ino. Are you okay? Ino didn't know what to say. That little statement Naruto made left her totally dumbstruck and sad. Alone and depressed, was that really her future? Especially being a ninja. It suddenly occurred to her why she was hesitant with Naruto in the first place. In a way, he reminded her of Sakura. Alone, upset, without a friend in the world. Sakura was fortunate to have her as a friend, but for whatever reason that wasn't explained to her, Naruto is still avoided like a plague. She taught Sakura everything she knew. Flowers, shinobi tricks, even how to manage her own hair. They were the best of friends. Then she started becoming independent and doing things on her own, reading books and fawning over the Uchiha. Sure, girls started to like him for one reason or another, whether it be status or grades or looks, and she got mad at her for liking him after she did, but the fact that she wanted him all for herself and wanted to be rivals gave her really mixed feelings. Anger, which was later directed onto making that girl's life as miserable as it could get, confusion. As to why she suddenly started getting so distant, and sadness, for which she latched onto her grandmother and cried for the rest of the day. She was afraid that Naruto would also become that independent, leaving her alone again and doing things to make her mad too. But what could he possibly do? She was just trying to help him do a simple exercise, but what if he started to keep asking her for advice until she's all dried up and leaves her with his own desires? Sakura did, and she was once nobody with an abnormal forehead. He wouldn't do that, though, would he? Meanwhile, Naruto was starting to worry. Ino hadn't said anything for a while now, and he had a good idea that she was silently seething over what he said. That's what Sakura did whenever he tried to convince to ditch Sasuke and date him instead. They all backfired and grew steadily more painful every time. Worried about another variation of said pain, he tried to calm her down. I didn't mean it like that. So what if nobody else is your friend? Naruto slightly cursed himself for not making that subtle enough and seeing Ino cringe like that, but quickly continued his statement. What I mean is, I'll still be your friend. That got Ino's attention as she looked up with slight hope. She quickly declined it and looked away. Some friendships aren't ever meant to be made. Who cares? I was told that I could never make friends in Konoha, but whoever said that was obviously lying. You, Arashi, Azami-san, Kiba, Akamaru, Hinata, Iruka-sensei, Old Man Tucci, Amni-chan, you're all precious to me, and I wouldn't give any of that up for the world. Arashi immediately perked up when he heard his name, only vaguely hearing the conversation, and was confused as to how he was involved. Ori. Rai. Calm down, it's nothing important. Naruto snapped at the exuberant Ryolu. You really mean it? Ino asked. Yeah. I mean, I just used him as an example, and then he got all excited for. She bonked him on the head for such single-mindedness. Not that. The friend thing. Oh that. Naruto scratched his injured head. Of course. I mean, you're some of the nicest guys, girls, I've ever met, and I wouldn't want to lose that, you know. From here he pulled out his trademark grin and thumbs up posture. I'll make sure that none of you regret having a friend like me. Believe it. Ryolu. The Pokemon cheered almost immediately, paw thrust into the air. It was clear he was attempting to mimic Naruto's pose. Ino was glad that Naruto's smile left him blind because he would have seen her blush and tears. She quickly wiped them away and smiled. Thank you, Naruto. The next day was finally the day for graduation, where everybody met with untamed anticipation. Some got too hooked on caffeine and couldn't stand still for more than 0.5 seconds. Others stayed up too late and are now feeling very weak, but frankly not tired. One just got so excited he ran around the academy a bit before hitting a light post. Still, it was a big day for the genin hopefuls, and parents dropped off their children with high hopes and big egos. It was another hardship Naruto was familiar with and took it with a high head. He did feel a little happier when Azami arrived. For both Ino and himself. Iruka even stopped by to wish him good luck. Just him. It wasn't like a parent's encouragement, but it was the next best thing. No sooner did he arrive the building and walk through the hallway did he begin to ponder that he had forgotten something very important, which confused Ino as well. Unfortunately, their answer came through the loud personage of Kiba. Hey guys. How was training yesterday? Naruto and Ino stopped dead. A sole thought came through their minds. Oh, crap. Immediately after, Naruto leaned towards the wall closest to him and consecutively banged his head against it. Ino and Kiba couldn't help but to stare at him with sweat rolling down, soon followed by Hinata who arrived a little later. I can't believe I forgot to help him. Sighed Ino. Well, what did you two do? Asked Hinata. That's the thing. Nothing. Kiba raised an eyebrow before smirking slyly and chuckled. Oh, I see. Looks like little Ino decided to go for the dope instead of the Uchiha. What? Both girls exclaimed. Hinata in shock and Ino in fury. Kiba started to taunt her with the dreaded embarrassing couple's song everyone knows. Akamaru joined him singing in airs. Naruto and Ino, sitting in a tree. Kissin. He never got to GA. Pissed off, Ino grabbed his head and bashed it against the wall next to Naruto, soon matching the exact pattern he was making. Akamaru quickly stopped and hid behind Hinata's leg. She felt more sweat roll down her head and sighed. The Hyuga heiress really did like her newfound friends who didn't question her shyness. Naruto merely encouraged her politely to be more open. Ino liked to give a little girl-to-girl gossip from time to time, and Kiba merely cared about fighting Naruto again, but their antics were more or less embarrassing to watch. She sometimes wished she could be a part of them. Not because it would make her seem less spineless, but because she wouldn't be as humiliated to watch them from the sidelines as to actually be a part of them. Duh. What a surprise. The new voice brought almost all of them to its attention, besides Naruto, who was still banging his head. Haruno Sakura stood there giggling at them like she was watching a mini-theater. The sight of the familiar pink-haired classmate made Ino's blood boil, Hinata's humiliation worse, and Kiba, with a giant black bruise on his forehead, was more worried that he would be a further target of Ino's anger venting. I didn't think you'd try to hang out with Naruto, Ino. Giving up on Sasuke-kun already? Ino huffed. For your information, I just have better things to do than follow him around all the time. I saved a lot of free time doing exercise than a futile attempt at following him. That barb seemed to make Sakura falter a bit, but she quickly overcame it and smirked. Is that why you with these three? They're my friends. Really now? Just looks to me you've fallen down from popularity, Ino. She said, shaking her head knowingly. Ino's eyes flared as her grip on Kiba grew tighter and more restricting, causing him agony. Hinata knew better that this was just a tactic thought by Sakura. She wasn't particularly a mean person, but she tends to be very obsessive on what she wants, whether it's impressing Sasuke or insulting her love rivals, like Ino. Hey. The new voice apparently saved the hallway from a bloody catfight as they turned to see the popular Uchiha Sasuke himself. SS Sasuke-kun. The girl squealed. Hinata's was much softer. It was true that all girls held a crush on the Uchiha, and the Hyuga girl was no exception. She was just so shy and quiet that she couldn't see to herself being another fangirl. Plus, there was making sure Naruto wasn't doing anything foolish via watching stalking him. Sasuke. Kiba scoffed. Ino quickly bashed his head against the wall again. Kiba. Sasuke replied, with a slight smirk at his conflict. Sakura, with hearts in her eyes, began her love speech of Sasuke-kun to date him. It quickly died out as she saw Sasuke walk right past her. Ino was quick on the uptake. Also feeling the love. Sasuke-kun me for unadumwell. That love speech also didn't last long either, for Sasuke also walked past her. Kiba thought of this humorous and was really tempted to say hey, you girls got dissed. But decided against it because they would only beat him up more. He knew when to say what and this wasn't the time. Still, he could help but to chuckle, which was joined by Akamaru's doggy snigger and Hinata's quiet giggle. The girls were too dumb to even notice. Sasuke continued his walk to the wall, banging blonde and stared at him. Dope. He said. Naruto kept banging. Sasuke let out a sigh. Dope. He said again, louder. Naruto continued to bang his head. Sasuke, finally peeved with a pop vein, pulled Naruto's shoulder and yanked him away from the wall, spun him, then thrust his back to the wall. As Naruto winced in pain, the others snapped out of their fits and stared at the two boys. Dope. Said Sasuke, in his still calm tone. Team? Naruto replied, without missing a beat. Sasuke scanned the hallway a bit before asking, where's the Ryolu? That question surprised everyone but Sakura, who was confused. The what? That pet of yours that you brought with you about a year ago. Sasuke answered, reminding Naruto. He was honestly surprised he even noticed. Oh yeah. That monster dog that beat up Kiba. It must be a fluke. Naruto wouldn't be able to raise anything right. Arashi isn't a monster. Naruto snapped. He knew Sakura said harsh things to him from time to time, but he wasn't one to let someone make fun of Arashi. He quickly turned to Sasuke. And what's so important about him now? He asked. Sakura blinked. Hearing Naruto get mad at her was something she didn't expect, which left her speechless. Sasuke didn't feel as hesitant. I want it. He said, straight to the point. 5 pairs of eyes literally bulged out of their sockets. What? Sasuke-kun, be reasonable. Sakura said, for once standing up for the blonde boy. I get how strong that Arashi thing is, but that thing is all that Naruto has. What exactly would come out of getting something like? Shut up. That statement from her crush was enough to have Sakura lose her confidence and indeed shut up. Sasuke didn't as much as side glance away from Naruto. Riolis don't just pop up anywhere anymore, Naruto. The fact that you found it by chance is just some uncanny. How do you even know what he is? Naruto asked. He himself didn't know what Arashi was until reading that Pokemon book he got from school, and he was sure it was the only one of its kind. He certainly didn't hear anything about Pokemon before finding Arashi and the book, anyway. I did some research back at the Uchiha clan books, said Sasuke. My clan happens to be good known users for fire, psychic, and fighting type Pokemon. Pokemon? Asked Sakura. Uchihas use Pokemon. Since when? Sasuke again ignored her and all else but Naruto. Your Riolu is of the fighting type. Its unique style is what gave the origin of the Hyuu's Juuken, rivaling only to the Uchiha Sharingan. Naruto blinked. Hinata looked as surprised as he was from this revelation. How the hell does he know all this? It is a waste of such potential to be in your care. Haruno's right. From here, Sakura smiled brightly to the dull glaring Ino. That so-called fight with Kiba was hardly worth mentioning. He always gets too overconfident and screws up in the end. Up yours, team. Kiba shouted on impulse as Akamaru growled. Ino quickly bashed the Inyazuka's head against the wall again to shut them up. So I thought it would be best to save yourself from later humiliation and take that Riolu of your hands. Since you haven't been training it as of late, it might need a stronger teacher as an ideal role model. What do you say? Anyone would be smart enough to grudgingly say yes whenever Sasuke wants something, except wanting all the girls to stop bothering him. This rather strange demand was no exception, but Naruto wasn't going to have any of that. Kiss my ass, team. The hallway itself froze in horror with audible gasps. Naruto's friends, Sakura, and any other student stopped and stared at him in complete horror, and Akamaru literally dropped dead on the floor while a random fangirl fainted. Sasuke merely raised his eyebrow fraction high. I don't care how great you Uchiha were, how much you want Arashi, or how better you think you can raise him. Even if I wanted to give him away, which I never will, I'm his legal guardian, so unless you want to consider being his new babysitter, then just try to find your own damn Pokemon. Until then, you can, once again, kiss my ass. The fury of almost all girls in the hallway was steadily increasing as Naruto ranted. The boys were wetting themselves at the fact Naruto told Sasuke off like it was no big deal, and Hinata and Kiba continued to stare gawking at what exactly he had just done. But there wasn't going to be a big fight as everyone had predicted, and Sasuke did 3 things he would never normally do in a sane world. 1. He smirked. 2. He let his grip go. 3. He complimented the dope. I guess you have some backbone after all. Naruto would have gawked his mouth open and wonder what just happened, as well as thanking whatever outside force saved him from getting pummeled by the Uchiha, but that would ruin whatever great stroke of luck he had looking superior to the other students. Besides, nearly everyone else was doing it already. He settled on a smirk of his own. Of course I do. Funny. Last I remembered you were the idiot dead last who could hardly untie himself from a knot. Naruto's sweat dropped at Sasuke's obvious statement and chuckled awkwardly. But I guess you're not a total waste of space if you're that protective of the Riolu. But if you ever change your mind. Naruto huffed. Like hell that would happen. I see. Well then, just don't screw up this time. With that, Sasuke walked back to class, where Sakura and the others quickly followed. Naruto kept that cool confident face until he was gone and out of earshot to look as surprised as his friends. Okay, did that seriously just happen? He exclaimed. You mean Sasuke coming over, acting all high and mighty, then acting all happy after you downright insulted him? Yeah, I think all that head-banging must have made us delusional. As always, Kiba knew what to say at the time, even if it hinted some sarcasm. Ino dropped Kiba like a sack of potatoes and cried comically. I'll say. I can't believe he talked to you. You. What about me? Oh, it must have been what I said. Again she was caught in her own little gibberish that left her friends confused, but Hinata quickly ignored it. Maybe Sasuke-kun wanted to say gee good luck in his own way. Naruto blinked. He hadn't thought about it that way. It would make sense as to why he said don't screw up this time. Maybe that arrogant child star of the academy wasn't so bad after all. Of course, one could never be too sure. It was around that time that when Kiba was getting up and Ino stopped ranting when hearing the bell. The test was about to start. Kiba, Akamaru, and Ino wasted no time getting to class, but Hinata stopped Naruto when asking a question. What was it that you needed help in? Naruto sighed being reminded what made him hit his head in the first place. Ino got up to as far as saying I needed to work on my spirit energy a bit more. She never really specified how to work on that. Besides meditating I guess. Hinata smiled. Well, then that's easy. How? I never meditated before. Meditating means to think calmly and relax while doing so. Naruto looked relieved. Really? I thought it was just thinking about nothing. Hinata giggled. Why yes, well, it's not much that can be studied. Just think about whatever makes you happy, and I'm sure you'll do fine. What makes me happy? Naruto nodded in content and flashed Hinata a blushing guaranteed smile. Thanks Hinata. No sooner did he arrive to the classroom did the graduation exam start. It was a simple written test stating basic questions on how a ninja should act in what ideal situation, mostly expressing the idea of teamwork, survival, and most of all, completing the mission. Naruto had some difficulty going through this. He felt he knew some questions, but didn't because he didn't completely go over them and left him crazy in writing whatever answer seemed best to him. Kiba had the same problem, occasionally chewing on his pencil in nervousness. Ino, Hinata, and Sakura had no problem doing theirs, and Sasuke finished around the same time as them. Shino seemed impassive through the whole thing, as he was normally. Choji was having trouble answering questions now that his bag of snacks was confiscated, and Shikamaru finished a good portion of it in record time, so he could have more time to sleep. Next was a basic obstacle course outside. It was heavily laid out with traps and twists and turns that only a genin could have moderate trouble with, which meant this was about up their alley. They had to run through, avoid any trap coming their way, and reach the goal before a minute was up. Sounds easy but hardly was. Some made it near the last second, others had gotten themselves lost, which caused the time to dwindle, and one kept banging his head into tree trunks before giving up. He apparently really needed some glasses. Sasuke cleared through the area without much difficulty, only scratching his clothes by a margin or two. He cleared it in 26 seconds even. The best course record. Shino met with the same conditions, but didn't catch up to match his time. He was 5 seconds off. Shikamaru didn't care about getting there on time, for he merely walked the whole way. The whole trip he avoided any trap that came at him, and with the most minimal of effort. He finished the course in over 70 seconds, but was given credit for successfully treading through the area untouched. He merely grunted and sat on the ground to rest. Hinata successfully cleared through the area in 41.52 seconds, using her Byakugan to foresee any trap in front of her and avoid it ahead of time. Ino and Sakura merely had a lot of luck and fierce determination, in which they tied in the same time. 46.49 seconds. Students like Naruto, Kiba, and Choji had the most difficult time out of most people. The constant bees flying, branch flying, and even anvil falling, to which Naruto commented, "Where the hell did they get an anvil?" nearly had them scared out of their wits. Kiba and Akamaru beat the other two's time in 57.19 seconds, and Choji was just crawling out of a swamp he had fallen into before clearing it, 58.32 seconds, but Naruto used everything and anything to clear through the track and made in the abysmal time of 59.59 seconds. Now was the last part of the test. The jutsu test. The students were to perform the 3 jutsu learned from the academy. Kawamari, Henge and Bunshin. After that the grades are all totaled and averaged, and the student either graduates or flunks this whole thing. Saying that Naruto was a little nervous was a big understatement. Albeit when he heard when the students would perform in alphabetical order, he relieved a bit. He was going to be one of the last few to do it. He wasted no time he practicing in that idea Hinata gave her and tried any possible good thing he want to happen in his life. First, he was the new Hokage. Yeah, that was good. He could literally see the sorry looks on everyone's faces, bound to him and praising him for being the best ninja since the Yondaime. He could swear that the Inuzuka hermit Takeo was among them. Others seemed happier and cheerful than the rest. That old man Sandaime example seems pleased with him, and then there's the Ichiraku family. Then there were his friends. Kiba clapping like a mad dog, Akamaru cheerbarking, and the girls smiling. Sakura was his newlywed wife, and Sasuke was trying to put up a smile to him horribly. Yeah, it really made his day seeing Sasuke that defeated. Of course, nothing could compare to how Arashi saw him. His vigor and joy couldn't be expressed as he applauds for him. He seemed happy to know everything worked for his guardian in the end. Just the way it should be. "Ichiha Sasuke," Haruka called out. As Sasuke left to be tested, Ino and the others were looking for Naruto. He was one of the only 2 left before her, and she was more worried for his performance than her own. He barely passed the last 2 parts of the test, and this was likely his last chance. But they haven't seen him since they were brought to the gymnasium. So far, the students walking back out has met with either a great cheer or a deadly silence, all depending on if the student has graduated or not. After this test, they either get it or they don't. Kiba and Hinata did well, already wearing the heading on their forehead or around their neck respectively. A lot of others passed as well. Shino, Shikamaru, and Choji to name a few. Oh, and then there's Sakura. Seeing her graduate relaxed her a bit. If forehead girl can do it, so can she. "I found him," said Kiba, pointing to a corner. They followed him and stood dumbfounded seeing him sleeping. Ino immediately blew up. His turn is up in a matter of minutes and he's sleeping like a rock. He sure knows when to make a stupid idea. Perhaps he was mediating. Kiba joked, with little confidence in that statement. Hinata blushed, feeling that this was somewhat her fault. "Well, we might as well wake him up," said Ino. Kiba nodded in agreement. They both drew in a deep breath, and just before 2 of the 3 loudest genin to be shouted out their vocal cords, Hinata interrupted them. "Can I do this?" she asked without so much as a stutter. Her friends looked at her funny but decided to let her do it. She must have a more subtle method than they did. Hinata blushed more, embarrassed to actually thinking of doing this. Perhaps it was because she wanted to be more involved with the group or just prove she wasn't the same timid girl they met before. She owed Naruto for extending that hand in friendship. No, really, she owed Arashi that. Because of him, she was actually able to make herself known to be his friend, albeit forced in a way. She felt herself to love the little thing as much as Naruto did. Taking a deep breath, she bellowed in a loud earth-shattering roar. Wake up. That would forever be the moment known to the rest of the students as the day Hyuga Hinata screamed at the top of her lungs. The whole room was hushed in silence, from nervous consoling to fangirl gossip. Ino and Kiba shared the same reaction and Hinata looked just as shocked, covering her mouth like she just eat. Naruto awoke with a start and saw everyone staring at what seemed to be him when it's actually a flustered Hyuga. Luckily, this awkwardness didn't last long. As Sasuke walked back out, a linen cloth with a metal plate stapled on it was seen dangling from his hand. The official Konoha headband. Before Iruka could call up the next name, feminine screams filled the room in cheer. No surprise there. Kiba said, mostly to himself since Ino's close by screeching made it barely audible. Iruka waited awkwardly until the cheering subsided before continuing. Uzumaki Naruto. Some snickers filled the air, causing Naruto to frown. This was pretty evident that he hadn't gotten a snowball's chance at succeeding. Maybe I should just try again next year, he thought. It's not like anyone would really hate and or remember him next year. He was shaking in his feet, any confidence from his dream gone and now worried of failing, like the last 2 times. As if sensing his nervousness, the Inyazuka Genin planted his arm on his shoulder and grinned. "Ah, don't listen to them," said Kiba. "They only forgot what it's like to get your dog pissed off." Naruto couldn't help but to grin hearing that. "Yeah. You know, believe in yourself." Ino rambled. "I don't know, just some sagely wisdom I guess. But really. Don't screw up." Hinata smiled as she started poking her fingers. Good luck, Naruto-kun." If the positive reinforcement from his friends didn't do it, it was Sasuke's ever-slight smirk, oblivious to anyone else but the two of them. It spoke to him, as if saying go on. "I dare you." To further tempt him, he tied the headband across his forehead with the spiraling leaf staring right at him. Of course, Uzumaki Naruto was known not to turn down a challenge. "Uzumaki Naruto." Iruka called again, slightly embarrassed. "Here." Naruto said immediately. He dashed for the room, unaware by the uneasy glances from the others. When he was out of earshot, Ino asked, "He's doomed, isn't he?" "Yep," was Kiba's only answer. When in the room, Naruto was standing in front of 2 teachers behind a desk, Iruka and Mizuki, who was distinguished by the standard Chunin garb and bright white hair. On the desk was a case filled with Konoha headbands and head masks, which was diminished to a selected few. Naruto gulped. He could do this. His friends were counting on him, Sasuke was betting on him, and it would hurt Arashi to see him defeated like when fighting Kiba. "Alright Naruto, you're to perform 3 of the academy jutsus and show us how you improved," said Iruka. Naruto nodded. "I know." "Then start," said Mizuki. Exhaling a breath, Naruto started off with a simple Kawamari. He would save Bushin for last. Without shouting out the command, his body was encased in smoke. Suddenly Iruka and Mizuki fell down to the floor, noticing their chairs are gone. The smoke cleared up and Naruto stood there smirking with the 2 chairs in front of him. "I would say that would work, right Iruka?" Mizuki said with a smile. His colleague grunted, probably not expecting a prank in testing. "Yeah, I guess." Naruto smiled to himself. 1 down, 2 to go. Hen shouldn't be as big of a problem, but still tricky. Mizuki looked surprised noticing the blonde's slight anxiety. "Is something wrong Naruto?" "Huh? Oh no, nothing. Just a little excited." Mizuki smiled. "Well just try to relax and have fun. Just because this is graduation doesn't mean you shouldn't make the most out of it." As if struck by inspiration, Naruto flashed a bright smile, which soon became a mischievous big grin. "Thanks, Mizuki-sensei." "If you were to continue," now Iruka said, growing impatient. "What do I have to henge into?" Naruto asked, to be sure. "Anything," said Iruka. "As long as it looks lively and realistic." "Gotcha." Naruto held another hand sign again and was enveloped in smoke again, but what exactly came out wasn't what either teacher expected. In Naruto's place was a tall girl with the same skin tone, whisker marks and hair color, which was now long and in pigtails. The smoke was still there, but merely covering her asset so suggestively. The girl looked at them and gave a sexy heart wink. Needless to say, both Iruka and Mizuki fell down from their tipped-over chairs with blood gushing out their nostrils like geysers. Naruto dismissed the jutsu and laughed heartily. "Damn it Naruto. I didn't mean like that." Iruka roared, holding a tissue up his nose to stop the bleeding. But you said lively and realistic. And Mizuki-sensei said to have fun. How else could I do all three without the Warwick no Jutsu? Yes, well, we didn't expect you to take it that far, Naruto. Mizuki said, also with a tissue paper to his nose. Iruka sighed. Well, since it is an illusion, I guess I could give you credit for henge. That's two, Naruto counted. All that's left is no, show us your bunshin. Naruto gulped. How he hated this technique. When was he ever going to use this? They can't even do anything practical except make poor scapegoats, and even then it sucks. Okay, calm down. There's nothing to worry about. Everyone's counting on you, remember? Sarutobi, Iruka, Old Ramen Man, AM, Azami, Ino, Hinata Kiba, Akamaru, Sasuke, Arashi. It's funny how many people I'm influenced with just one Ryolu. From berry finding to brawl fighting, he helped me make better connections in the time span of a month more than it did for almost a decade. It was because of that yellow guy that he made me get this far, and I'm going to go through with this and win. And if I don't, I'd be screwed and laughed at, but Arashi would still love me, right? On second thought, let's not jinx it. With that at the back of his mind, Naruto pulled out one more hand sign and cried out, Bushin no Jutsu. Several minutes earlier, Ino, Hinata and Kiba and Akamaru all winced when they heard screaming at the door. Definitely not a good sign on his part. YUD didn't think he used THTH that, do you? Hinata shuddered, more embarrassed than usual. Ino sighed. This is Naruto for crying out loud. Of course he would do it. Man, I wish I got to see it again. Kiba said dreamily. Hinata shuddered more and Ino glared at him darkly. Pervert. Kiba blinked. What? He looks hot as a girl. Hell, I almost wished was born one seeing him like that. Naruto is a girl, Ino said, stiffing a giggle. Man, that'll be the day. I can't even begin to imagine what he would do as one. Hinata giggled as well, thinking of another feminine blonde next to Ino. You'd think she would stay a civilian or try to be a shinobi. Of course she'd be a ninja. Ino laughed. We're thinking of him with a sex change, not a personality change. She would still be loud and annoying. Yeah, but I'd still date her. Kiba smirked and soon all three of them laughed full-heartedly. It didn't go off with some others staring at them with confusion. Taoji one in particular paused from eating to think about it and started to blush. He did admit Naruto did look amazing whenever using that sexy jutsu. Naruto a girl. That's not exactly far-fetched, I suppose. She looks nice and wouldn't normally be bossy like Ino or Sakura or afraid of her own opinions like Hinata. Oh man, I must be having problems if thinking a guy under some illusion is attractive. Shikamaru, did you just hear them saying what nar? No. Shikamaru wasted no time answering that question. While he looked peaceful lying down, he was being mentally tormented. Damn those three, getting that image stuck in my head. As if we didn't have enough loud troublesome women. Though she does look pretty so troublesome. Sasuke, surprisingly, had the same problem and couldn't help but to twitch. My god, that is so disturbing. Hell, the only reason he actually looks sexy is because he molded his henge out of his own fantasies. And none of these fangirls have anything that could top that. I guess I wouldn't mind having fans looking like her. No. I have a lifelong mission. I have no time for such wrong, weird, perverted thoughts. Shino didn't seem at all thinking about the female Naruto, but rather on the three's interaction with one another. Normally, they wouldn't have forced themselves to get along unless required. It would seem that Naruto and his little friend have brought them jointly. Such is a precious gift that Naruto has received. He remained silent before venturing the same curiosity as well. I wonder if she would hold an interest to arachnids if born feminine. This question was soon subsided and quiet again, leaving the students and graduates wondering when the dope was coming out. The anxious anxiety of that one student was worrying them out of their wits until finally, the door opened. Uzumaki Naruto, tall and stoic, walked out the room. The Konoha headband was tied on his forehead. Taoji's potato chip dropped on the floor, midway of being eaten. Shikamaru rubbed his eyes open in denial. Shino raised an eyebrow but still remained impassive. Hinata felt tears forming in her eyes. Kiba and Ino high-fived. Yada. Sasuke smirked. Sakura and every other student stared at him, gaping like fish. Naruto slowly smiled and held two fingers, V-shaped, and shouted in a slightly drained voice. Who's the dead last now, huh? Then he collapsed face first. Everyone in the room sweat dropped. Ook. Finally got around to another chapter at a much quicker pace than last time. Expect non-canon team groups next chapter. Naruto and Arashi. Amik. Number 3. At night, are you sure this is a good idea? Katetsu asked Izumo as they leaped house to house in the dark night. How else are we going to know if the kid isn't going to pull a fast one on us? Izumo answered. This is Naruto we're talking about and you saw all the tools he bought. streamers, balloons, pop rocks. Okay, I get the point. They arrived at Naruto's house stealthily and opened up a window without even a lockpick. See, this is why we've been promoted. Izumo smirked. You know it. Kotetsu agreed with a grin. As they opened it up, the two of them leaned forward and collapsed through the house headfirst. The window, fortunately, was still intact. We meant to do that, Izumo said quickly. Right. Kotetsu agreed. The two of them wandered around the room, making sure that they wouldn't wake up the brat. It was hard to get around since they could see where they were going. Kotetsu quickly tripped over a chair and fell down with it. Izumo grew worried and dashed around frantically whispering. Kotetsu, where are you? Under your foot. The spiky-haired Jounin looked under to see his loincloth friend under him, slightly bruised and annoyed. Sorry. After helping him up, the two eventually found the light switch and were surprised to what they found. It's a party. I told you. Kotetsu glared at his friend. No, you didn't, Izumo. I did. You said it was a stupid prank. Well, it doesn't look like it now, does it? Indeed, it was what Kotetsu had said at the beginning. A party. The streamers weren't tape-string jungles. They were party favors. The balloons weren't filled with water. Just helium, with a long string tied at the end. The party hats and napkins were nicely placed on the table by 5 different chairs. Not strapped to the Inyazuka dogs. Then there was the cake. It looked like nice enough, with pink frosting and chocolate batter, with an unlit candle on the top and frosting saying happy birthday, Arashi. It was a small, mediocre party at best, but it was a nice attempt at one. Izumo couldn't resist himself when scooping up a bit of the frosting at the end. Izumo. Kotetsu scolded as his partner friend licked his finger clean. I don't feel anything. No bathroom urges, no stomach pain, but I taste a little popping sensation. The two of them stared at each other with wide eyes and immediately went searching. Izumo by the stove oven and Kotetsu to the trash. The wrappers are all here and opened. Kotetsu said astounded. There's a bunch of pop rock bits all over the oven, too. Izumo exclaimed. You're meaning to tell me, Kotetsu said. That he used pop rocks, Izumo continued. On the cake. They finished simultaneously. They stared at the cake, the evidence, the cake again, and then themselves. They laughed. Oh man, that's a load off my back. You said it. But really, pop rocks in a cake. What was this kid thinking? Probably to please the sweet tooth the Ryolu has. When Izumo looked at his friend weird, Kotetsu corrected himself. I heard them talking about how the Ryolu like sweet things. Thinking back on it now, this would make the most sense. The two of them eventually calmed down and were ready to leave when Izumo had an idea. Should we have a slice? Izumo. This is their cake. We shouldn't be involved. The spiky-haired nin pulled out a cutting knife from the drawer. Ah, one thin slice wouldn't hurt. They'll hardly notice it. Before Kotetsu could argue further, Izumo slowly dropped the knife to the cake and sliced it. The cake immediately blew up and the room was covered in a thick pink gooey. I told you. Izumo grew offended. No, you didn't. I was the one that said that this was a prank. And you said it was a party when it was my defense in the first place. Touché. Besides, I meant what I said about the cake and look what happened. You worry too much, Kotetsu. I doubt they'll hardly notice. Kotetsu glanced at him skeptically. You know, after we fix the mess up. Kotetsu sighed. We have a lot of work to do. What if Naruto stumbles upon a Pokemon egg end here and thanks for watching my video till the end.